During our summer vacation trip, my little sister secretly climbed into a van. I pretended not to see her and walked away. In my past life, I stopped my sister, and she ended up resenting me for decades. On her daughter's first birthday, she laced the formula with a lethal dose of poison. She laughed maniacally as she watched her daughter cough up blood. "Remember this, you're the one who killed her. You ruined my life. And now I'll make sure you suffer for the rest of yours." "Why did you stop me from getting on that car back then?" I wanted to fight her to the death, but she stabbed me and left me in a vegetative state. After clinging to life for a few more years, I finally breathed my last. When I opened my eyes again, I had returned to the day my sister secretly got into that car. The moment I opened my eyes, I was met with the sight of Joanne's back as she glanced around furtively, squinting. I felt a surge of overwhelming hatred. Soon, a black van pulled up to the entrance. She knocked 3 times on the door, and 2 men inside quickly pulled her into the car. In my past life, I thought my younger sister was about to be kidnapped. I screamed to draw a crowd, and together we dragged my sister away by force. I was too frantic at the time to notice the odd look on my sister's face. Joanne has hated me for decades. Not only did she poison my daughter to death, but she also spent years lacing my medicine. It ruined my health and left me a shell of my former self. After she stabbed me and left me in a vegetative state, she would come every day to curse at my ear, flaunting how perfect her family was, how adorable her daughter was. Every year, she would bring her daughter to my sickbed to celebrate her birthday. 5 years later, I finally drew my last breath, driven to it by her. It wasn't until the day I died that I understood why Joanne was so desperate to get into that van. It was her meticulously planned ascension. She had believed she was the chosen one since childhood. I was never meant to be born into an ordinary family or live an ordinary life. For a time, I was convinced I was switched at birth. As she grew older, her resemblance to her father became more and more striking. She finally came to terms with the truth, but in doing so, hatched a new plan. If you're born into the wrong life, you can always choose a different one. The man inside was indeed a human trafficker. It was Joanne who contacted the trafficker, volunteering to be abducted, but she had one condition: she had to be taken to a wealthy household. The trafficker agreed without hesitation, and today marks the final step of the plan. In her past life, Joanne believed I had ruined her plans in her entire life. She hated me to the core, watching the van disappear into the distance. A smirk touched my lips before I turned and melted into the crowd. "In this lifetime, I'll let you chase the life you want. I'm curious to see just where those traffickers will take you." 10 minutes later, Joanne still hadn't returned. Her parents were starting to worry. They checked the restroom, but she wasn't there. Their faces grew pale with dread. 20 minutes later, they had searched the entire scenic area but found no sign of Joanne. Her mother nearly fainted. Her father called the police. Unfortunately, 30 years ago, surveillance cameras in tourist spots were not commonplace. The last anyone saw was Joanne heading into the restroom. She never came back out. I was the only one who knew she had climbed out through the restroom window. After taking a long, roundabout route, I arrived at a small, unmonitored gate on the outskirts of the scenic area. The area was overgrown with weeds and completely devoid of tourists. This was the pickup spot she had scoped out long ago. Besides, with the tourist area so crowded, who would pay any attention to an ordinary little girl? The search continued until dusk. There was no news whatsoever. Mom fainted several times. Dad smoked one cigarette after another. "It's all my fault. Why didn't I keep a better eye on her?" Chasea. It was Dad who lost her sister. He covered his face, sobbing uncontrollably. Mom and Dad stayed here for the better part of a month. They both blamed themselves, believing they hadn't kept a close enough eye on their sister. Their health deteriorated rapidly. They were all admitted to the hospital near the scenic area. I was so frantic that I broke out in a cold sweat. This couldn't be happening. I couldn't let that monster Joanne destroy our family. That night, I walked to my parents, tears streaming down my face. I was so choked up I couldn't speak, tears just streaming down my face. My mom pulled me into her arms, her heart aching as she wiped away my tears. "Sweetheart, are you missing your sister? It's our fault. Your dad's and mine. Are you blaming me for losing her?" I shook my head and buried my face in my mother's embrace, sobbing uncontrollably. "I've already lost my sister. I can't lose you too, Mom and Dad. Chasea is so scared of losing you. Mommy, Daddy, I don't want to lose you." The two of them jolted awake. It suddenly dawned on them that Joanne wasn't their only little girl. They also had me, their 8-year-old eldest daughter. I needed my parents' full love and care just as much. The next day, they really stepped up. 3 days later, we headed home. They never blamed themselves in front of me again. Out of guilt, they showered me with twice the love. Dad worked himself to the bone, just to make up for the time he couldn't spend with me. Soon after, he seized the opportunity and started a small factory, riding the wave of the times. The factory's fortune soared, transforming from a small workshop into a major plant. It eventually evolved into a full-fledged company. Our entire family moved from a 70-square-meter apartment into a mansion spanning thousands of square meters. I had become the most cherished Miss Chow of the household. That year, I was only 13, lying in the soft, large bed. I laughed out loud. I really wonder what kind of life Joanne is living now. I wonder what her expression would be if she knew our whole family had struck it rich. The ordinary family she wanted to escape from had become the wealthy people she dreamed of day and night. None of these things ever happened in my past life. In her past life, after Joanne returned home, her parents went to work as usual, having been ordinary workhorses all our lives. It's only natural we've lived ordinary lives. I ran my hand over the custom-made dress I was wearing. It seems Joanne really is the bane of our family's existence. Without her, the whole family would have struck it rich. Because of the physical depletion and violent death in my past life, I began to train my body with desperate intensity: sanda, combat sports, swimming, and body sculpting, health science, nutrition, pharmacology. I hired tutors for every subject I could possibly study. Of course, I didn't neglect my studies either. Seeing me work myself to the bone, my parents were heartbroken. Chasia, our family is so well off, we could support you even if you didn't study at all. All your mom and dad want is for you to be happy and carefree. I flashed a grin, showing my little canine teeth. Mom, I am happy. 3. After Dad secured several new projects, he had a lot more free time. Even while spending time with me, he never gave up looking for Joanne. They spent a fortune placing missing person notices in newspapers and online. They also offered a substantial reward. A reward of 5,000 is offered for any information leading to Joanne. A reward of 2 million is offered for information leading to Joanne's whereabouts. This matter has caused a huge stir in our city. We've had a constant stream of visitors. They're practically wearing out our doorstep. My dad is just too wealthy. He doesn't care if the information is true or false, or if people are just trying to scam him. If you ask, he'll give you 5,000, no questions asked. A lot of people privately call him the Lord of Largesse. To be fair, not everyone who comes to him is just looking for a handout. A few of them mentioned they might have seen the van, but couldn't give any concrete details. My dad didn't think much of it. As for me, I certainly wasn't going to say anything. 2 years later, who knows how much money my dad had ended up handing out. Still haven't gotten any useful information. My mom was getting a bit agitated. These people are all just here to scam us. It's all fake news. We haven't found our daughter, but we've spent a small fortune. Just as my parents were about to try a different approach, a bald man showed up at our house. With a single glance, I recognized him. He was the man from the van. 10 years had passed, yet the man's appearance hadn't changed much. He still had that same shifty, cunning look on his face. He licked his lips. Mr. Chow, I believe I know the whereabouts of your daughter. My father waved a hand, gesturing for him to continue. Everyone who comes to the house says the same thing. I believe I saw your younger daughter once when I was working in City B. As he said this, he gave my father an ingratiating smile. But the young lady was so little when she went missing. I can't be sure it was her. How about I go take a look? If I find her, I'll send you a message. It's just that the money. My father gave an absent-minded as I said. 2 million as a reward for finding my daughter. The man rubbed his hands together, took the 5,000, and left without another word. My parents didn't give it a second thought, because City B is over 2,000 kilometers away from the tourist destination. Only I knew the bald man was right. Joanne must be in City B. Just want the 2 million. In your dreams, a human trafficker. He doesn't deserve it. I immediately contacted a private investigator and had them go to City B to find Joanne within a week. They were incredibly fast. They sent me the photos in just 3 days. The moment I saw the photos, I laughed so hard I could barely breathe. Oh, Joanne, is this the high society life you were chasing? For, in the photo, Joanne is cleaning the restaurant's restroom, her clothes covered in grime. In the next picture, Joanne is at home, eating a simple meal of kimchi and rice porridge. On the table sits a stewed hen. There was nothing for Joanne. It was all in the little boy's bowl across from her. The detective told me that Joanne had been bought by this couple. Back then, the couple couldn't conceive and, having no money for a boy, they bought Joanne instead. To everyone's surprise, just 2 years after Joanne arrived, the couple had a baby boy of their own. I wiped away my non-existent tears. My poor sister has suffered so much. Boo-hoo, my poor sister. The detective also said that Joanne isn't in school anymore. She was forced by Mr. and Mrs. Zhao to start working several years ago. At this point, the detective paused and gave me a cautious glance. I nodded, signaling for him to continue. The second young lady, it seems she has a boyfriend. A boyfriend. What's so difficult about saying that? The moment I saw the photo, I couldn't help but laugh. So-called boyfriend. He's a man in his 60s. Well, isn't that interesting? The detective told me they often meet in secret after the restaurant closes. The old man has a bit of money and is quite generous with Joanne. I paid the detective double to keep it from my parents. Baldy has already gone to City B. It's only a matter of time before he finds Joanne. That night, I used up a whole bottle of eye drops. I made sure I looked convincingly heartbroken. My mom put down her chopsticks and pulled me into a hug. "Oh, my darling, who upset you? Tell Mom. I'll make him wish he was never born." Biting my lip, I carefully slid the photo across the dinner table. "Mom, Dad, I found our sister. Oh, it's so heartbreaking to see her like this." I didn't show Mom and Dad the photo of the old man holding her, just as I expected. Their eyes welled up with tears the moment they saw it. My mom wiped her tears away, completely choked up and unable to speak. "It's our fault. We're so sorry, Joanne." We decided on the spot to go to City B to find Joanne the very next day. As I got up to return to my room, I accidentally dropped the old man's photograph on the floor. Prompted by my parents, I hurriedly picked the photo up. The more flustered I became, the worse it got, until my panic was laid bare for both of them to see. "Mom, Dad, wait, I'm sure my sister has her reasons. Don't judge her with prejudice." My father's expression changed first. What he despised most were people who would stop at nothing for money. Joanne was struggling, but she was able-bodied and in good health. My mother pressed her lips together, wanting to defend Joanne, but the words wouldn't come. After all, in the photo, Joanne was beaming, her whole body pressed tightly against the old man. I hurriedly hid the photo. I tugged at my parents' arms, stammering as I tried to explain things for Joanne. "Mom, Dad, she had her reasons. My sister's life has been so hard." "Wah, that must be why she did something wrong. I believe my sister can change." My father said nothing, his lips trembling. On the verge of a furious outburst, he slammed his chopsticks down on the table. "We'll go pick up Joanne first thing tomorrow." I know the guilt of losing Joanne still cuts them deep. The ache in my heart outweighs the anger. Lying in bed, I listlessly toyed with the photograph. I'm hoping for a good show tomorrow. Early the next morning, my dad drove to City B himself. The whole way there, my mom was too nervous to speak. She kept fussing with her hair and straightening her clothes. She was also constantly searching online for advice on what to say when you find a missing child. My father barely said a word the whole trip. He only asked if I was hungry or needed to take a break. A break, absolutely. I timed it so we'd arrive in City B after the restaurants had closed. But we can't be too late, or Joanne will have already gone back to the Zhao residence. After a long and tiring journey, we finally arrived at the restaurant where Joanne worked a little after 9 in the evening. My dad clicked his tongue in frustration. "They're closed. We're a step too late. Let's go straight to the Zhao family's place." My mother grabbed my father's sleeve. She pointed towards the faint light in the kitchen, her voice choked with emotion. "There's still a light on back there. Is our Joanne still cleaning up?" "Oh, poor Joanne, she's really been through it. That boss is a monster, picking on a young girl like that, and keeping her here all alone so late." I started crying along with my mom. If you listen closely, you can hear voices inside. It sounds like she's not alone. They decided on the spot to go check the kitchen. My mother was the first to push the back door open. What met their eyes was a head of graying hair. The old man was pinning Joanne against the table, kissing her passionately. His hands wandered restlessly beneath her blouse. Joanne giggled coquettishly. "Oh, you stop being so impatient. Silly. I can't take it anymore. You have no idea how much I've missed you. I'm off tomorrow. Come shopping with me, big brother. I saw this dress I really like, but it's $500. All right. How about I give you a little something else tonight?" "You're so bad." The sound of the door opening startled them both. Joanne looked up, annoyed. "Can't you see we're closed? Go eat somewhere else." God, this is annoying. My father was trembling with anger. He stepped forward and kicked the old man to the ground. "Joanne, just look at the state of you. A 500 yuan dress. Is this really what it took to make you, even after 10 years apart?" My father couldn't bring himself to speak harshly to his youngest daughter. Joanne froze for a moment, studying us under the dim, yellowish light. Her eyes grew wider and wider, finally glazing over with a film of tears. She was about to lose her temper, but upon seeing the Rolex on my father's wrist, she held her tongue. She stood there, sniffling and wiping away her tears. You look just like my mom and dad." My mother stamped her foot, pulled Joanne close, and wrapped her in a hug. "Oh, my dear girl, we are your family. Oh, these 10 years, 10 whole years, you've been through so much." The old man's mood was ruined. He tugged angrily at Joanne. "Hey, who are these people? Explain yourself." Joanne slapped his hand away and shouted, "What are you doing? Keep your hands to yourself or I'm calling the police. Haven't you forced me into this long enough?" Joanne, had no one to back me up before, but my parents are here now. Just try laying a finger on me again. I rested my chin in my hand. Standing in the shadows, Joanne was clever indeed. With just a few words, she completely turned her parents' opinion of her around. Knowing our parents felt guilty about it only made me feel for her more. She looked past my mom, her eyes finding me. Is that you, sis, sis? She ran over and threw her arms around me. That dress you're wearing must be so expensive, sis, sob. I've never worn anything that nice. You look so beautiful now, sis. You can just tell you've been truly loved. Asterisk sob asterisk. Not like me. No one loves me, mom, dad. I miss you so much. I stared at her, a faint, ambiguous smile on my lips. How interesting. So Joanne wants to play the real and fake heiress game with me. My father sent someone to pick us up. We returned home overnight. Joanne's jaw nearly hit the floor as she took in everything in the house. She looked at this, touched that, her eyes wide with wonder. My mom took her by the hand to show her the room, right next to mine. Inside, gifts were piled high to the ceiling. Joanne, how about I take you to the mall tomorrow to get some new clothes? We can even have a few dresses made for you while we're at it. Joanne wandered around her bedroom for a bit, then she came into my room and had a look around. Her eyes welled up with tears. Mom, can I have this bedroom? This bedroom is so big and beautiful. I've never seen one this lovely. Of course it is. My room is the finest and largest in the entire villa. The balcony alone is as good as a small garden. Mom looked a bit troubled. This is your sister's room. I smiled and took hold of Joanne's arm. Mom, just let my sister stay with me. We haven't seen each other in 10 years, and I have so much to tell her. My mom breathed a sigh of relief. She patted my head. Chasia is such a good girl. You two sisters have always been so close. It'll be nice for you to catch up and spend some time together. Joanne opened her mouth, about to say something. I didn't give her the chance. Taking her by the hand and leading her to the room, I took her to the walk-in closet and gestured with a nod of my head. Little sister, all of these are my custom-made clothes. See if there's anything you like. Joanne reached out to touch it. I grabbed her hand and tooted. Your hands are all calloused and rough. You'll damage it. I looked her up and down and pouted. Oh dear, you're a bit plump, aren't you? These clothes are delicate. You might just burst the seams. I played with her hair. Your hair is so dry too, sis. What kind of life have you been living these past 10 years? I showed off my meticulously cared for hair to her. Even the tips of his hair were a glossy, jet black. I dragged her into the room once more. I pointed at the items inside, boasting about them one by one. These were things she had never seen, nor even heard of before. I'm going to tell her exactly what kind of princess life I've been living all these years. Joanne flushed crimson with anger. Chasia, what do you mean by that? All of this should have been mine. If you hadn't lost me, would my life have been this miserable? I leaned back on the sofa, smiling without a word, and gave the juice in my hand a little shake. Little sister, you know, this juice is specially supplied. Oh right, you probably don't know what specially supplied means. To put it simply, a tiny glass like this costs $1,000. I covered my mouth and chuckled. That's twice the price of the dress you wanted. Oh, sweetie. How did it come to this, selling yourself out to a man in his 60s for half a glass of juice? It's really so beneath you. 6. Joanne's face flushed with a mix of anger and pallor, shifting between shades of red and white. Before she could blow up, I looked up at her with a beaming, cheerful gaze. But it's good that you're back. If you need money, just tell your sister. Please, don't go seeking favors from those old men for cash again. I fished a black card from my bag and held it out to her. Take it. There's a fortune in here. Joanne completely lost it. She snatched the card, threw it on the ground, and stomped on it over and over. Chasia, you bitch. Who wants your charity? Can't mom and dad afford to raise me? Bitch, you're doing this on purpose. I told you I was forced by that man. Are you deaf? I took a sip of my juice and nodded as if a light bulb had gone off in my head. Oh, so you were forced, were you? You were smiling so happily. I thought it was consensual. Chasia, I'm going to kill you. She lunged at me, claws bared and teeth gnashing. With a simple sidestep, I dodged, and she tumbled to the ground in a heap. She lay on the floor, seething with helpless rage. The commotion in the room startled our parents, and they rushed over in a hurry. Chasia, Joanne, what's going on? I mussed up my hair and pinched myself to see if I was dreaming. Tears welled up in my eyes instantly. Anyone can play the innocent. Mom, Dad, I'm sorry. I didn't take good care of my little sister. It's all my fault. I'm not a good big sister. Sobs. Joanne simply collapsed to the floor and started sobbing. Mom, Dad, my sister doesn't want me to come home. She's been cursing at me, insulting me, and telling me to die. I buried my face in my mother's arms, shaking my head frantically. That's not true, little sister. Why would you say that? My mother's eyes widened in shock. Having raised me for over a decade, she knew my character inside out. She would never say something like that. My father, with his sharp eyes, spotted the black card on the floor. He picked it up and gave it a pat. Chasia, why did you just toss the card on the floor? Is it broken? I'll have someone get you a new one tomorrow. I kept my head down, my voice muffled. No, it's not broken. I was trying to give it to my sister, but she didn't finish her sentence. But Mom and Dad already knew what had happened. Joanne was still being stubborn, insisting that I had thrown the card away myself to frame her. My mom sighed, helped Joanne up, and brushed the dust off her clothes. Joanne, your father, and I know you've had a hard 10 years and you're carrying a lot of resentment. But you can't take it out on your sister. Your sister is too gentle for her own good. She'll never speak up when she's been wronged. You two used to be so close. It's late now. Can't whatever it is wait until tomorrow. My mom tipped Joanne by the arm and led her back to her own room. Joanne, still defiant, shot me a venomous glare. She thought she had hidden it well. Little did she know, my father had seen right through it. After she left, my father asked me if something was wrong. I bit my lip and mustered a brave smile. It's just that without Dad, she's not used to it yet. She's upset, but she'll come around in time. 7. Lying in bed. I couldn't help but find it a little amusing. In our past life, she kept up the act for decades, convincing everyone we were the closest of sisters. Joanne in this life is so impatient. I guess that's what happens when you don't get an education. The next day, her fighting spirit was back. She belittles me, both openly and in secret, insinuating that any favor I receive now is just a share of what should rightfully be hers. I really ought to thank her properly. She leaned against the doorframe, tilting her chin up with an air of haughtiness. In all the stories, it's always the youngest daughter who's the favorite. Just you wait and see. Mom and Dad will end up despising you. I grabbed my bag and walked out, not even bothering with her. My schedule is completely packed with classes today. She let out a scornful laugh behind me. I'm going to buy 10 times the clothes you did today. They'll be better and more expensive than yours, for sure, as if I'd ever give her that chance. Halfway through boxing class, I clutched my stomach and called my mom. Mom, my stomach really hurts. I'm skipping boxing class today. You and sis have fun shopping. I'm heading home first. Less than 10 minutes after I hung up the phone, my mom showed up at the boxing gym in a frantic rush, without a word. She took me straight to the hospital. Joanne's eyes were practically shooting daggers. Her mouth was set in a hard line. Mom, my sister is so lucky. Just a little stomachache and she gets all this attention. Not like me. Sigh. Back home, I could faint from the pain and no one would care. I'd still have to drag myself to work. My mother patted her head, looking apologetic. Joanne, I know you've been through a lot, and I will make it up to you. But please don't talk about your sister that way. You're both my precious ones. I'd do the same for you if you had a stomachache. I winked at Joanne and silently mouthed the words, see, Mom loves me more. Joanne's face twisted with fury. She gritted her teeth and tugged at my mom's sleeve, whining, Mom, since sis is okay now, can we go back to the mall? I still haven't bought my clothes. My mom glanced at her and said softly, how about we go tomorrow? The clothes aren't going anywhere. Mom, but I really want to wear it today. My mother sighed, handed her the card, and asked Butler Wang to accompany her. Joanne, buy whatever you want, spare no expense. Joanne was fuming and turned to leave. That evening, Joanne came to show off her new outfit in front of me. My mom had the head designer custom make this for me. Could you even afford something like this? I pointed expressionlessly at the large wardrobe behind me. That wardrobe is full of them. You can take whatever you like. Oh, wait, I forgot. You're a bit too full-figured to fit into them. She was grinding her teeth in anger. I stood up and patted Joanne on the shoulder. Oh, little sister, you're so naive. Wouldn't it be better if you just came back and kept your head down? You just had to compete for their favor, didn't you? Haven't you figured it out yet? In Mom and Dad's hearts, I'll always be number one. Joanne didn't buy it. This is just a phase. I'm the youngest. The youngest is always the most important. She started acting out in all sorts of ways, all to prove she was the most important in her parents' eyes. Feeling guilty, her parents had always indulged her every whim. All that indulgence made Joanne increasingly unruly. She fell in with a bad crowd and would often stay out until midnight, hoping to set Joanne on the right path. Her parents wanted her to continue her education. Your sister is very thoughtful. You should go to school with her. The moment my name comes up, she loses it. She absolutely refuses to go to school. Our family is so rich. Why on earth do I need to study? Mom, Dad, are you just like the Zhao's parents and don't want to take care of me anymore? Sobs. I know my sister is perfect at everything, so you only love her and not me, right? Her parents, feeling helpless, tried to soothe her again with gentle words. They agreed to Joanne's request. Honestly, the family could afford to support 100 of her. That evening, she came to provoke me again. Chasia, do you really think I don't know what you're up to? You just want your little friends to mock me, don't you? I've read a ton of these bully the new kid stories. You think you can pull that on me? Hilarious, watching her smug figure walk away. I just shook my head. What an idiot. My goal, of course, was to make sure she never opened a book again. What if getting an education actually makes you smarter? That would be a problem. It's better to just stay blissfully ignorant forever. More than once, I've seen my parents sighing with worry when they thought I wasn't looking. They just don't know what to do with Joanne. My mother wiped away her tears. It was our fault for losing her back then. She wouldn't have ended up like this otherwise. Let her be happy. I don't need her to be successful. I just want her to be happy for the rest of her life. But those unsavory friends of hers, sigh, I'll find a time to get rid of them all. I couldn't help but laugh. Joanne takes full advantage of our parents' guilt to do whatever she wants. But really, how long can that guilt possibly last? I've already gotten Baldy's contact information. It's just not the right time to use it yet. 8. 2 months later, Mom and Dad planned a party to celebrate Joanne's return. Joanne was absolutely thrilled. The entire banquet was arranged according to her preferences. I was swamped, running around nonstop, and didn't even have time to go out. A week later, I took a look at the banquet's PowerPoint presentation. I pursed my lips. Is that all? My coming-of-age party was way more lavish than this. And just like that, Joanne lost it again. She started screaming, demanding that all the decorations be torn down. Then she ran off to her parents to cry and complain. She said she had suffered so much and wanted to throw a grand banquet. She wanted everyone in City A to know that the Chia family's youngest daughter had returned. When her parents refused, she resorted to emotional blackmail. Mom, Dad, I was missing for 10 years. 10 years. Do you have any idea how much I suffered? After 10 years, is it too much to ask for a grand homecoming party? Sobs. Out of guilt, my parents had no choice but to agree. It was just a matter of spending a bit more money. My parents didn't want a big event, simply because they felt Joanne was a bit of an embarrassment. Joanne was absolutely delighted with herself. Sis, your coming-of-age party isn't all that special after all. A smirk curled at the corner of my mouth. Joanne had taken the bait. Mr. and Mrs. Zhao were already searching everywhere for her, with all the fuss she's making. The Zhao couple will come looking for her sooner or later. If they don't come on their own, I'll make sure they get the message and show up. And of course, there's Joanne's old man boyfriend. Joanne is really looking forward to that day. I'm really looking forward to it, too. The day of the banquet arrived before we knew it. The dress she was wearing cost a 7-figure sum. A team of over a dozen designers crafted this gown under her personal direction. Well, it's a long story, but Joanne loved it. She twirled around in front of me, holding her skirt, countless times. My dear sister, you don't get this kind of special treatment, do you? Absolutely not. My sense of style would never allow it. Joanne even went so far as to enlist the city's largest media outlet. On the night of the banquet, she orchestrated a rather unconventional entrance. Well, it was a slight improvement over her dress. My friend clicked his tongue disapprovingly from the side. Is that your own sister? What is she wearing? And what's with this whole ceremony? It's like the birth of the stone monkey. After the proceedings were over, finally, some free time, Joanne ran up to me, blinking her big eyes. Sis, I was wrong before. I was just too jealous. Can we make up today? Blood is thicker than water, and you'll always be my favorite sister. I rested my chin in my hand, watching her with an expressionless face. She seemed a bit awkward. She took my hand and pulled me up. Sis, don't be like that. I still remember how close we were as kids, always sharing the best things with each other. Come on, sis, let me make it up to you properly. Okay, I've got a little secret to tell you. She pulled me towards the storage room. On the way, she handed me a cup of juice. Sis, I know what special supply means now. This juice is the new one. Come on, try it. With just one glance, I caught the faint, unusual scent in the juice. She drugged it. I smiled and pointed to the large screen ahead, which was playing photos of Joanne from her childhood. Do you remember when that was taken? While Joanne was lost in reminiscing, I poured some of my juice into her glass. I turned and noticed the juice in my own glass had gone down. A genuine, heartfelt smile spread across my face. Sis, you're in for a real treat tonight. Just relax and enjoy it. She pulled me into the storage room. The lights were off, but I could just make out a dark figure lying on the sofa inside. Joanne's eyes were shining. Sis, are you feeling a bit feverish all over? The atmosphere tonight is really heating up. I nodded. Yes, I'm so excited I feel flushed. As she spoke, Joanne's words began to slur. She swayed a couple of times and clutched her head. Sis, I'm so happy. From now on, I'm so sleepy. If you're sleepy, just sleep. There's a sofa right here. She yawned and stumbled over in a daze. I slipped out the door and thoughtfully pulled it shut behind them, leaving it just slightly ajar. I'd had a feeling all along that Joanne was planning something major for the homecoming banquet, but I never imagined it would be so vicious and low. I guess she's just reaping what she sowed. 8. Just as I entered the lobby, my friend came rushing over. Cheja, there's a commotion at the main gate. They say they're Joanne's adoptive parents, Mr. and Mrs. Zhao, were kneeling on the ground with their son, wailing in despair. They're claiming your parents stole the daughter they raised for 10 years. Mrs. Zhao was pounding her chest, looking as if she was about to faint any second. Zhao's son desperately kowtowed towards the soft patch of grass. He wailed, "Give me back my sister, woo woo woo, give me back my sister." My gaze fell on the old man behind him, and I almost burst out laughing. He was dressed in a suit, with a groom's boutonniere pinned to his right lapel. He was also holding a bouquet of flowers. I'm Joanne's boyfriend. I'm here today to propose to her. A man in his 60s bowed to my parents and called them Mom and Dad. Mom, Dad, Joanne and I have been together for 2 years. What we have is real. Their faces turned ashen, and they waved their arms, trying to shoo the whole group away. The old man was elderly, but his body was still nimble. He darted into the house in a flash and started shouting, Joanne, Joanne, your big brother is here to marry you. Didn't you say you didn't care about his age, only whether he had the stamina? For a moment, all the guests were stunned. I seized the moment and turned off the music. The hall was deathly quiet, save for a faint, ragged breathing that seemed to come from the storage room. I clapped a hand over my mouth and pointed toward the storage room. What was that sound? The old man heard it too, his face darkening with a thunderous scowl, charged towards the spot I'm pointing at. He kicked the door open, only to see Joanne getting intimate with a homeless man on the couch. That haute couture gown was still hanging on her. I gritted my teeth. Joanne actually brought in a homeless person. How utterly vile. I immediately covered my mouth and let out a loud scream. Ah, sis. What on earth are you doing? How could you do something like this in our home, with those kinds of people? Are you trying to give Mom and Dad a heart attack? Joanne jolted awake in an instant. She let out a sharp cry and clutched her chest. How did I get here? Why me? Get away from me, you filthy bum. Don't touch me. Security. Someone call security. Quick. My parents rushed over, trembling with rage. She scanned the room, then fixed a venomous glare on me. Chasia. Why are you standing there perfectly fine? It should have been you. I stared back at her with a heavy, intense gaze. Where else would I be? Don't tell me this vagrant is your idea of a gift for me. Everyone present was sharp as a tack, instantly grasping the implication in Joanne's words. My father couldn't bear the shame, so he cleared the house first. He slapped her so hard she hit the floor. You ungrateful wretch. How could I have a daughter like you? Joanne threw herself into my mother's arms, sobbing, Mom, I really didn't, I shouldn't be here. My mother, her eyes red-rimmed, shoved her away with all her might. Get out. How dare you try to hurt your own sister? Have you no shame? Joanne stood frozen for a moment before letting out a hysterical scream. Mom, you hit me. You actually hit me. She gave a bitter, sorrowful laugh. Do you have any idea what my life has been like for the past 10 years? You think I don't know you're ashamed of me, that you think I'm an embarrassment. If you hadn't lost me back then, wouldn't I be a princess just like Chasia? Dad stood frozen in place. My mother sobbed, wiping away her tears. The Zhao couple scrambled over and grabbed hold of my father's trousers. We raised you for 10 years. Are you really not going to pay us back for a decade of your upkeep? Joanne kicked the Zhao couple, sending them sprawling. Get out! How the hell have you treated me these past 10 years, and you still have the nerve to ask for money? Get the hell out of here. The old man seized the opportunity to grab hold of Joanne. Joanne, you wouldn't disown your own brother, would you? I'll let the whole homeless man incident slide, but you have to marry me. The hall erupted into chaos. In an unnoticed corner, a man in a hat quietly approached Mom and Dad. He whispered a few words. He then walked over to the stereo and turned on his phone. Joanne, just wire me $1 million, and I'll keep my mouth shut about what happened back then. $1 million. You think you deserve that? How dare you even bring up the past? Do you want me to have someone take care of you? The man snorted coldly. Aren't you afraid your parents will find out it was you who begged me to take you away? Get lost. You promised to send me to a rich family. But look where you took me instead. How dare you threaten me? You have no shame. The noisy group fell silent in an instant. My mother staggered a few steps and nearly fell. Joanne, what does this mean? 9. The man in the hat was the bald man, the very trafficker who had taken Joanne. Joanne panicked, flustered and stumbling over her words as she tried to explain. Mom, it's not true. None of it is. This man is framing me. I steadied my mother and lashed out at Joanne. Joanne. Do you have any idea how many tears Mom and Dad have shed over the last 10 years? And to think you begged someone to take you away, you left because we were poor, chasing a rich girl's fantasy. Now that you've got money, you come crawling back. Have you no shame? Joanne screamed, tearing at her hair. No, I didn't. Chasia, it was you, wasn't it? You're framing me, you bitch. You teamed up with that bastard to set me up. Mom, Chasia is the one who framed me. She charged at me like a madwoman. A bodyguard kicked her to the ground. My father stared at her with icy contempt. If you hate this family so much, then get out. Get out of here with your adoptive parents. The bald man was still hoping for money, but what awaited him was the police. I called the police a long time ago. There's no way a human trafficker like him was getting away. The Zhao parents, who bought Joanne, won't get away either. Refusing to give up, Joanne fell to her knees, begging her parents for forgiveness. Her parents had long since given up on her, their disappointment absolute. After a decade consumed by guilt, self-blame, and regret, she discovered it had all been a cruel joke. The old man caught Joanne as she was about to faint, holding her close. Now I'm the only one who wants you. Back when you were a rich heiress, I could marry you, but now you're nothing. Let's just go back to how things were. Joanne flew into a rage, kicking and hitting him wildly. My father, annoyed, simply had the bodyguards throw them both out. My parents were in a slump for several days. Joanne just wouldn't give up and came back to make a scene several more times. I went ahead and bought plane tickets, taking my parents abroad for a trip to clear our heads. My mom would pull me aside to cry every single day. Why, how could she have been so heartless to leave her parents when she was that young? We may have been poor back then, but we always tried to give you the best we could. How could she turn out like this? I patted my mother's shoulder, offering quiet words of comfort. Some people are just born without a heart. She never loved her family, only money. We had been traveling abroad for over half a year before we finally came back. Baldy and his crew were arrested. Both the buyers and sellers were held equally guilty. And Zhao's parents ended up in prison too. There wasn't much news about Joanne. 2 years later, while I was on a business trip to City B, a woman came rushing out, completely unhinged. Her eyes were bloodshot, like a wild beast's. Chasia, you should have stopped me. Why didn't you keep me from getting in that car this time? Chasia, you've ruined my life. None of this would have happened if you'd just stopped me. I was stunned for a split second before it dawned on me. Joanne was remembering her past life. A smirk tugged at the corner of my mouth, but there wasn't a trace of warmth in my eyes. Stop you, so you can kill me again. Her eyes widened as she murmured, you've been reborn. Chasia, you've been reborn too, haven't you? You bitch, you bitch. She charged towards me, knife in hand. I kicked her right into the wall. Then I made a call and had her committed to a psych ward. The orderlies here actually hit people. Enjoy the rest of your life in here. End. Story 2. My roommate, who's from a low-income family, seems to be really bad at math. For the buy one get one free bubble tea, she claimed the one she drank was the free one, and now I still need to get her to pay for her share. She had acute gastroenteritis in the middle of the night, and I took her to the hospital, but she said, I never wanted to come to the hospital, I just wanted to buy a 3-in-1 stomach medicine. You insisted on bringing me here, so I'm not paying for the taxi. I'll pay 1.5 yuan for the medicine. Because of her difficult family background, we in the dorm tried to be as accommodating as possible with her, until she started dating a boyfriend who was just as keen on splitting the bill as she was. She asked how many Swiss rolls she could have if there was a box. Her boyfriend said, sweetie, just pay for however many you eat. I tried to warn her to see things clearly, but she thought I was just jealous of her great boyfriend and ended up pushing me down the stairs to my death. The other 2 roommates kept their mouths shut after securing their spots for graduate school. This time around, I have to make sure they're stuck with each other. Let's see who's going to bankroll her without me as their cash cow. It was only when I saw a bubble tea ordering page in front of me that I realized I had truly been reborn. In my last life, my roommate Yuna wanted to split a bubble tea with me to take advantage of a buy one get one free offer. Seeing how eager she was, I nodded and agreed, but to my surprise, after she brought the bubble tea back, she told me, the one I'm drinking was free, yours is 22. As I was still trying to process what I'd heard, Yuna added, oh, and you owe me an extra $5 for the delivery fee. I was about to say something, but my other 2 roommates gave me a look. I figured Yuna was a struggling student from a poor family, so I just decided to pay the extra, but that very night, Yuna started throwing up and having diarrhea. I took her to the hospital, and she actually blamed me for meddling. Of all the taxi and medical fees I covered, she only gave me $2.50 back. She had the nerve to say, I only wanted to buy 5 yuan worth of gastroenteritis medicine. If you hadn't wanted bubble tea, I wouldn't have gotten sick. Here's 2 yuan 50, I don't want to take advantage of you. After that, I decided I'd never willingly get close to her again, but then she pulled out a depression diagnosis certificate and put it in front of me. 5. Because of your attitudes, I developed depression. You should cover all my treatment and medical expenses. I'd never met anyone so outrageous. With the other 2 roommates fanning the flames, I ended up getting into a fight with Yuna right then and there. Yuna grabbed my hair tightly and shoved me down the stairs. Instead of calling an ambulance, my roommates immediately started coordinating their stories, claiming I fell by myself. After a few days of arguing with the school administration, the 3 of them secured spots for postgraduate studies. One of my roommates said, Yuna comes from a poor family, so she deserves a bit more. Beryl was narrow-minded, she deserved to die. But whenever money is involved, Yuna and the others always act like ostriches, never uttering a word. This time, without me footing the bill, I'd love to see if they'll still have the nerve to speak so confidently when they're forced to chip in more. Suppressing my anger, I smiled at Yuna and said, oh, I just placed an order for bubble tea from this shop. What a shame. Maybe ask Lydia or Amy instead. It's just the start of the semester, so nobody really knows how to turn down a roommate who suggests splitting a bill. Soon after, Yuna and Lydia placed their orders together. Yuna even deliberately walked over to me and said sourly, Beryl, I can't believe how thin you look, yet you can drink 2 bubble teas by yourself. It must be nice to be rich, unlike me, who has to find someone to split the order with. Lydia and Amy, who were standing nearby, immediately sided with Yuna. Nodding in agreement, Amy added, so much money. nowhere to spend it. I just smiled and didn't argue with them. Arguing with them would just be a waste of my breath. The takeout arrived quickly. Before I even had a chance to leave my dorm to get it, I saw Yuna, who had just stepped out, come back and carrying 2 takeout bags. She loudly announced, "I'm exhausted. That'll be 5 yuan each for the delivery fee." With that, she quickly aimed the QR code at me. I stood with my arms crossed, unmoving, just staring coldly at her. Lydia's expression clearly soured as well. I knew Yuna was testing my limits. The going rate for running errands to pick up packages and food delivery on campus is 2 yuan per trip. Yuna took my food delivery without my knowledge and then tried to charge me more than the standard rate for the errand. I took a deep breath and could feel my blood pressure rising. "Yuna, I didn't ask you to pick up my bubble tea, and you never mentioned this to me beforehand." I tried to reason with her. Besides, I've seen on the wall that a delivery run only costs 2 yuan. 5 yuan is way too much. To my surprise, Yuna's face darkened, and she stood up, becoming aggressive. "Am I wrong for helping you get your takeout? You know I'm a student from a low-income family, right? Your family is so rich. What's wrong with paying a little extra as a friendship price?" It was the first time I'd ever heard of a reverse friendship price. I didn't want to fall out with Yuna so soon, but I wasn't going to let her take advantage either. I sent her $2. "Not a penny more. We're just roommates, not friends, so let's stick to market rates, and next time you take my takeout without asking, I won't be so lenient." The moment the money hit her account, Yuna immediately put on a pitiful expression. The 2 other roommates, who had watched the whole thing unfold, swarmed around her like dogs to fresh meat, comforting her and, of course, taking a jab at me. "Yuna's family isn't well off to begin with, and you're still so petty about everything. Even though your family is rich, you're so narrow-minded." 5. "It's okay, Yuna. I'll transfer you 10 yuan. It's too much for you to carry 2 takeout orders at once." With memories of my past life, I naturally knew what kind of person Yuna was. As long as there was profit to be made, she would absolutely drain someone's wallet dry before she'd stop. I just hope they'll still be able to say that when the time comes. The 3 of them didn't enjoy their happy time for long. At midnight that day, both Yuna and Lydia started vomiting and having diarrhea. Amy was too scared to speak, just sitting on the bed. What happened in my previous life is happening again, but this time I won't be Yuna's blood bank, letting her rip me off with her ridiculous calculations. I lay in bed, listening to the chaos outside, but Yuna wasn't about to let me off the hook. She pulled back my bed curtain, stood in front of my bed, and said, "Beryl, could you take us to the hospital? We've got food poisoning." I frowned. What does your food poisoning have to do with me? And pulling someone's bed curtain without asking is really rude. No sooner had I finished speaking than Yuna immediately started wailing and playing the victim. "But we're roommates. How can you be so cold? It wouldn't kill you to lend a hand when we're in trouble. Had I not been reborn?" I might have believed her words, but now I know that taking her to the hospital was just the beginning of being taken advantage of. This time, I'll let my kind-hearted roommates have this golden opportunity to be bled dry. Despite my firm stance, the 3 of them ended up going to the hospital on their own. Before leaving, Amy gave me an inscrutable look. I held her gaze without flinching until she was the first to look away. The night passed, but they never came back. Instead, I was met by an angry-faced counselor. "Beryl, your roommates are sick. How can you just stand there and watch without helping them? You've all just started university. Your values aren't fully formed yet. You can't be so cold-hearted, understand?" Her words were sharp and accusatory, leaving me a bit bewildered. The fact that Yuna pushed me down the stairs in my past life was covered up not just by my roommate, but the academic advisor also played a part in it. It was only then that I found out they were actually relatives, and the advisor had pulled strings behind the scenes to secure the financial aid spot for Yuna. I obviously didn't give him a warm reception, but I still put on a somewhat scared expression to play along. "Advisor, I didn't think that much about it. I was just exhausted and wanted to sleep." Seeing my sincere attitude of admitting my mistake, the counselor nodded in satisfaction and said, "It's good that you can recognize your mistakes. I'll take you to the hospital. Make sure you apologize to Yuna properly. You come from a good family, so you should definitely take more care of your roommates who are struggling financially in your daily life." The way she said it, she might as well have reached into my wallet and taken the money directly. I smiled the entire time, double-checking that my recorder was still on. When we got to the hospital, I saw Yuna and Lydia hooked up to IVs, and Amy was off to the side, head down, playing on her phone. The moment Yuna saw me, she rolled her eyes dramatically. "Didn't you say my business had nothing to do with you? So why are you trotting over here again?" Before I could answer, she shoved the medical bill into my hand and said, "The doctor said it was acute gastroenteritis from eating something bad." I thought about it, and it must have been your bubble tea that gave me diarrhea. "You have to cover part of the cost this time." "Of course, I'm not unreasonable. I'll definitely split the cost with you. I usually take $3 stomach medicine, so I'll just split $3 with you." I'm not trying to take advantage of you, I frowned and asked. So, you're saying you secretly drank the milk tea from my desk, decided there was something wrong with it, and now you want me to pay your medical bills? Yuna, despite being in the wrong, stood her ground. Exactly. It was your milk tea, so you're responsible. I glanced at the medical bill in my hand, which was over $500, then turned to Lydia. Are you also only buying $3 worth of medicine? Lydia didn't even bother to look at me directly. That's right, she said. The counselor chimed in at just the right moment to pressure me. Beryl, you should apologize to your roommates first before paying the fee. It's just a few bucks. No need to make a big deal out of it, right? Amy suddenly blurted out. We haven't even factored in the cab fare yet. They talk about not taking advantage, yet they're pinning the cab fare on me too. They've really mastered the art of having it both ways. Even a pushover has their limits, let alone someone like me who's been reborn. I nodded with a smile and stopped a passing nurse, saying, could you please remove their IVs? Upon hearing my words, Yuna immediately let out a scream. Beryl, have you lost your mind? What gives you the right to have my fare removed? I crumpled up the payment slip and stuffed it into Yuna's gaping mouth, grinning as I said, because I'm the one paying all your medical bills. Lydia made a move to pounce and help Yuna, but with one push from me, she tumbled back into her chair. I turned to the still stunned nurse beside me and said, could you please remove their IVs? Thank you. Even though I still had a smile on my face, the nurse nervously skirted around me, pulled out both Yuna's and Lydia's needles, and then fled without even offering a cotton swab. The tall, burly counselor, seeing my sudden outburst, didn't dare utter a sound and just kept his distance. And Amy, forget about her. I had them so scared the whole way. They were like quivering quails. Even if I just raised my voice a little, they'd start shaking. The counselor couldn't take it anymore and started scolding me. Beryl, it's just about paying a fee. Do you really need to make such a scene? Don't you have any sense of the bigger picture? 5. I pushed him towards the payment window and said, oh, counselor, since you have such a great sense of the bigger picture, why don't you pay for Yuna and Lydia? Oh, and don't forget their taxi fare. After all, I'm just a student. I really don't have that much money. If I end up not having enough to eat, we'll have to meet on the rooftop. I threw his own words back at him, and the counselor's face turned absolutely livid. I could even hear his teeth grinding as he scanned the code to pay. After finishing the payment, he glared at me and said, are you satisfied now? Apologize to your roommates immediately. With a grin, I pulled 2 boxes of norfloxacin capsules out of my pocket and shoved them into Yuna's hands. Now that your bill is settled, let's talk about mine. These capsules treat diarrhea, 16 yuan per box, since you and Lydia are sharing. It comes down to 8 yuan each, $8. Minus your $3 budget, so just give me $5 each, plus the taxi fare and the money for the bubble tea you guys secretly drank. I pulled out my phone and did some quick math. So, you guys owe me $20. Yuna clearly hadn't expected me to use her own ridiculous math against her. She pointed a finger at me, sputtering and unable to get a word out for a long time. I smiled sweetly, aiming my QR code at her face, which was contorted with anger. Come on. My good roommates who hate taking advantage of others, ever since I messed with them at the hospital, they completely isolated me in the dorm, and the 3 of them would constantly make snide remarks. My counselor never gave me a good look either, but since I'm not competing for awards or honors, his attitude means nothing to me. Every day, I just watch them play nice in the dorm with a popcorn-ready attitude. I know this harmony is just a facade. Yuna uncharacteristically ordered barbecue takeout for lunch today. It came in a vibrant, trendy Chinese-style package and even included a small lactic acid drink. To show how good their relationship was, she even made sure to share a bite of the barbecue with Amy. Amy, in a syrupy, high-pitched voice, cooed, thanks, babe, you're the best. Unlike some other princess I know, Amy hadn't even swallowed her barbecue when Yuna piped up, Amy, the barbecue rice is $34.9. You just ate 2 pieces of my meat, so let's say $10 for you. Friendship price. I clearly saw Amy's chewing stop, looking like she didn't know whether to spit it out or swallow it. 2 thin slices of barbecue, at most, would be $2. The $34.9 price probably didn't even factor in any discount. Amy clearly thought the same thing, and she couldn't hold back. She immediately blurted out, Yuna, that's way too expensive. How did you even calculate that? Yuna raised an eyebrow at the challenge. What, you think I'm scamming you? Tension crackled between them. Lydia quickly stepped in. Come on, we're all friends here. No need to nickel and dime each other. Amy, you know Yuna's struggling financially. You ate her food too. It's only fair to chip in a bit extra. Amy opened her mouth but nothing came out. All the words she'd said before had turned into boomerangs. Striking her own heart, Amy huffily pulled out her phone to transfer money to Yuna. Our eyes met, and she immediately said in a snide tone, what are you looking at? Some people want to eat this but can't even get it. Her words made me chuckle. 10 yuan for 2 slices of barbecue. Honestly, I'm not that keen on it. What a ripoff. That light-hearted comment almost made her spit blood in anger. After that incident, It was clear their relationship wasn't as good as it used to be. Then one day, Lydia came in beaming and announced, "Guys, Sean asked me out," and I said yes, he wants to invite our whole dorm out for dinner on Sunday. As soon as they heard the news, Una and Amy quickly smiled and agreed, teasing, "You'd better treat us to something good." 5. Lydia's gaze landed on me, and after a long pause, she said, "Beryl, you should come too. I don't want my boyfriend to think I'm isolating my roommates." As if her passive-aggressive behavior and cold attitude these past few days weren't isolated incidents, and now she's putting on an act for me, but I knew it would be a good show, and with a better grossed out than miss the drama mindset, I still nodded and agreed. On Sunday, before Lydia even woke up, Una was already in full makeup, having sprayed on her man-killer perfume. She said, "This is a sign of respect for you and your boyfriend." Lydia was clearly unhappy but didn't say anything. Only reminding her, "Sean is treating us to this meal, so don't bring up splitting the bill again, just enjoy the food and watch what you say." Una fiddled with her freshly curled hair in the mirror, seemingly oblivious to whether she'd even heard Lydia's advice. The seafood buffet was quite a distance from campus, and having been there before, I knew it wasn't cheap, definitely a splurge for college students. Between the car service and how well-dressed everyone was, it was clear Lydia's boyfriend came from a well-off family. The moment they stepped into the restaurant, Una's act began. "Oh my, this place looks expensive. Sean, you really shouldn't have. I'm not one to freeload, so just tell me how much this meal is, and I'll WeChat you the money." Sean clearly wasn't buying it. He chuckled, putting some distance between them, and said, "No need. I said from the start I'd treat everyone. Please, don't be strangers." Una persisted. "I'm really not like those other materialistic women. Don't insult me with your money." I was completely cringed out by her classic line straight out of an old-school CO romance novel. I couldn't help but strategically take a sip of water to hide my laughter. I saw Lydia's face turn pale then green with anger, but to maintain her image in front of her boyfriend, she still didn't directly confront the situation. "It's fine, Sean, even though Una doesn't come from a wealthy family, she's incredibly strong-willed. If you don't let her chip in, she won't be able to sleep tonight." With a forced smile, she said, "Una, just WeChat me the money later." Their eyes met across the room, and I could almost hear the electric crackle between them. That dinner was nothing short of spectacular. Una seized every opportunity to get close to Sean, but Lydia flawlessly blocked every attempt. The table was a battlefield of verbal sparring, and I sat in the corner devouring 2 plates of watermelon. As the meal drew to a close, Una, having gained nothing, completely lost it. She slammed her chopsticks onto the table and declared, "This food is disgusting. I'm leaving." I called out to Una before she could even take a few steps. I knew that at this point, it would only take a tiny spark to ignite the powder keg. "Hey, Una, didn't you just say you were going to ask Lydia for money? Did you forget?" Una would never forget about money. I said it on purpose. Lydia immediately chimed in, "Beryl, I almost forgot. Come on, it's $388 per person." Una clearly hadn't expected the buffet to be so expensive. Her face went blank. After a long moment, she stammered, How could it be so expensive? You're trying to rip me off, aren't you?" I smiled and showed her the group buy price on a certain app. Una's eyes nearly popped out of her head, and she started in with her usual twisted logic about splitting the bill. "How can you calculate it like that? I'm allergic to seafood, and I only came so I wouldn't spoil your fun. I barely ate any seafood or meat. You should be splitting the cost of my allergy medicine with me. You guys come from good families. Is it really so hard to look out for me a little?" She delivered this string of absurd arguments with complete confidence and conviction. Even Sean, who had been the life of the party all night, fell silent. He glanced at Lydia, who was clearly distressed, and said, "I didn't realize your good friend roommate was this kind of person. It makes me question your judgment too. We don't really know each other well, so let's both cool off. I've already paid the bill. I'm leaving." Lydia, her face streaked with tears, begged him not to go, but all she got was his resolute back. She glared at Una with an almost venomous look, saying each word distinctly, "Happy now? I just got dumped. Are you satisfied? When I HN with you, I'm always going easy on you. Give you an inch and you take a mile, acting all high and mighty. Who HNs like that?" Suddenly, she changed her target, pointing at me hysterically and yelling, "And you, why didn't you just HN with Una honestly like before? Then she wouldn't have latched onto me, and I wouldn't have broken up with Sean. It's all your fault." It was only then that I realized what those previous feelings of unease were all about. Turns out, I wasn't the only one who had been reborn. It's highly likely that Lydia and Amy have also been reborn. This explains why I have no memory of Sean from my past life. Everything clicked into place, and I could no longer hold back. I stood up and looked Lydia straight in the eye. "Lydia, how dare you think you're entitled to suck me dry? Do I owe you something? Haven't you had your fill of profiting from my suffering already? No matter how hard you scheme, what isn't yours will never be yours. That was true before, and it's true now. Doesn't feel great being used as a blood bag, does it? Compared to what I went through, you've barely scratched the surface. Can't handle it already. Amy stood up as well, her long manicured nails nearly poking my nose. Beryl, your death is your own doing, if you want to blame anyone. Blame Yuna. It has nothing to do with us. Yuna clearly had no clue what we were talking about, yet she glared at me with a look of pure hatred. I let out a low chuckle, leisurely slipped on a pair of plastic gloves, then grabbed leftover crab and shrimp shells from the table and hurled them at the group. As I threw them, I snarled, "Who said I'm only coming for Yuna? All three of you better line up. I'm taking you down one by one." You two acted all high and mighty, preaching morality while cornering me. Now that you're the ones bleeding, you can't handle it. Turns out you're not as noble as you claimed. 5. And you, Yuna, if you dare mess with me again, I won't go easy on you like I did at the hospital last time. Crab and shrimp shells are hard, stinky, and covered in sharp edges. I didn't hold back at all. Hitting someone with them would really hurt. The three of them practically fled in a panic, too scared to even curse at me. After that dinner, cracks started to show in their little clique. The more wonderful it was before, the more silent it is now, but the three of them all tacitly avoided provoking me, probably because the previous two incidents had left quite a shadow on them. Lydia was always shedding tears over her phone, in stark contrast to Yuna, who began to unconsciously smile at hers. I realized something was going on. According to the timeline of her past life, the boyfriend who loved AA as much as Yuna did was about to appear. Sure enough, within a few days, Yuna was loudly video calling a guy in the dorm room. As for how I knew, it's because Yuna had it on speakerphone, so loud I could hear it from the bathroom. "Honey, if I wanted to eat Swiss rolls, how many could I eat from a box of 8? The man across from her said without hesitation, "They're 5 yuan each, so 8 would be 40 yuan. Yuna didn't hear the answer she wanted, so she pouted unhappily and whined, "But honey, what if I don't have money but still want to eat 8 Swiss rolls? Of course, your husband will lend you the money to buy them. Don't forget to pay me back for yesterday's date. Braised chicken was 15, Mishua Bingqing lemonade was 4, and the shared bike was 1. 5. Just transfer me 20. I just knocked off 50 cents for you. Your hubby's treating you right, isn't he?" Yuna nodded quickly, then paused for a moment before asking, "But honey, didn't you drink that lemonade yourself?" "But sweetheart, if it weren't for coming to see you, why would I splurge on something as fancy as lemonade? It's not like I'm trying to take advantage of you or anything, more like he couldn't wait to dig into his pocket and pay up, if you ask me. But they really are a perfect match." Even Lydia and Amy had schadenfreude written all over their faces, but soon, their smiles faded, because Yuna's boyfriend said that Yuna had the fewest belongings, and the common areas were all taken up by the other three. We're all paying the same tuition, so why do they get more space? They need to pay you back. When Yuna brought it up, I actually doubted my own ears. Is that something a normal person would even say? Could it be that in a relationship, 2 negatives make a negative? Yuna immediately turned her guns on me. "First, Beryl, you have so many clothes and bags. You take up the most space in the dorm. You should pay the lion's share." Faced with a common enemy, Lydia and Amy also joined forces, presenting a united front. "Exactly, the dorm is a shared space. You're being so selfish. I originally wanted to just watch the drama unfold, but since they're bringing it right to my doorstep, I'm not just going to stand by." I immediately shot back, "If you guys are really that bored, you can always switch shifts with my dog. Are you seriously looking for trouble every single day? Do I have to beat you up for you to finally be satisfied? It's 1/4 per person in this dorm. Open your damn eyes and see if my stuff is taking up more than 1/4 of the space." My words packed quite a punch. I also noticed Yuna discreetly turning on her phone's recorder. She thought she was being sneaky, but I caught every move. She clung to her innocent persona, shedding a couple of pitiful tears and said, But this is so unfair to us. If you have any issues, just say it outright. Please don't bully us like this." Without waiting for a response, she sobbed and dashed out of the dorm room. Amy crossed her arms, a smirk playing on her lips. "Beryl, how can you still be so naive after all this, letting Yuna string you along like that? Or maybe you should just jump off the building now. That way, we won't have to coddle her while waiting for that grad school spot." I replied with a sweet smile. "Oh, you might be waiting for nothing then. It might be faster to just go get rid of Yuna right now." 5. Both their expressions visibly changed. I knew they must have had this plan in mind all along. They just needed a little push from the outside. Soon enough, I came across a post titled, "I think my roommate is bullying me." The whole post was full of manipulative language, painting themselves as the victim while making the other person seem unreasonable, with the audio recording as proof. The comments below were all comforting Yuna and insulting me. I thought Yuna would patiently gather more evidence, but I didn't expect her to be so impatient. I noticed the post wasn't getting much traction, so I even spent a few $100 out of my own pocket to boost its traffic and fan the flames. Just as I expected, the post went viral. Yuna immediately went live to play the victim. Some alumni dug up my school and major, and with Yuna deliberately spilling the beans. Everyone around me knew I was the one involved. Even walking down the street, I could feel people's curious and mocking stares. Yuna practically strutted around, bragging to me triumphantly, "Beryl, I tried to talk to you nicely before, but you wouldn't listen. Now look what's happened. Your reputation is ruined. I've just been diagnosed with depression. If you still want to study at school and get good grades like Amy, apologize to me right now and pay me what you owe." I sat on the stool, frowning, and asked, "What do I owe you?" After being reborn, I deliberately distanced myself from Yuna. I really couldn't think of anything I owed her. Yuna pulled a small notebook from her pocket, opened it, and read, "First, the follow-up hospital visits and a series of examinations are estimated to be 5,000 yuan. Second, regarding the dorm's electricity and water bills, since I live quite frugally, I should only pay half. You're in the room most of the time, so you should cover the rest. Third, because of you, I developed depression. You're responsible for covering all the diagnosis and treatment costs." She handed me a few sheets of paper. I took a look and thought, wow, seriously, I was just sitting in my dorm, and out of nowhere, trouble landed right in my lap. Tucked inside the depression diagnosis were several handwritten sheets detailing expenses from dates, everything from a cup of bubble tea to hotel bills, totaling close to 100,000 yuan. I couldn't hold it in anymore and burst out laughing. "Wait, you're seriously trying to pin your hotel expenses with your boyfriend on me? Was I under your bed when you guys were, you're going to blame me for that too?" Yuna, clearly a bit flustered by my scolding, retorted loudly. "The doctor said I need to do things that make me happy, so of course, you're paying for it." As if struck by a sudden thought, she snatched my phone and checked that I wasn't recording before saying, "Beryl, I've already shown you considerable courtesy. You know how unpleasant cyberbullying can feel, right? The counselor won't help you either. Isn't it a fair deal to pay a little for some peace and quiet?" Lydia and Amy both told me that while you might be sharp-tongued, you have the softest heart. My family isn't as well off as yours. My parents are just ordinary workers. If you could look out for me a bit more in daily life, I'd really appreciate it. I knew Lydia and Amy must have been stirring up trouble behind my back. No wonder Yuna had been clinging to me so persistently after I drew the line, instead of going after Lydia and Amy. They're clearly banking on the fact that I was bullied in the past and are trying to leech off me all over again. My response was, "Dream on, you can have anything you want in your dreams." That immediately sent Yuna into a rage. She started editing her post right then and there, ready to blast me online. I pulled out the voice recorder from under my pillow, along with the papers Yuna had just given me, and added them all to the PDF I'd prepared. I commented under her post, "I'm the toxic roommate from the post. Come at me if you're a real one." The homepage featured screenshots from a PDF, specifically chosen for their shock value, including but not limited to her private chats with her boyfriend in the dorm, their heated exchange at the buffet, and that outrageous rant about splitting bills in the dorm. The most explosive of all was the photo of Lydia and Yuna's so-called hubby locked in an embrace. This was all gathered by a private investigator I hired. People were initially furious when they clicked on my account, ready to tear into me until I questioned my existence. But once they got in, they were all stunned. I feel like I'm a civet cat scurrying around a melon patch. 5. I just felt like the previous one kept deliberately playing the victim, but in reality, there was nothing except a few seconds of audio. No, this PDF is solid proof, and the logic is clear and well organized. Does the original poster offer services for creating PDFs? OP is such a decent person. If it were me, and someone said those things to me, I'd be fighting them on the spot. The public opinion completely flipped. All the netizens who were trashing me before were now going back to trash Yuna, but Yuna didn't have time to look at the online abuse. She shrieked, demanding, "Did you Photoshop that picture? How could my husband betray me?" I shrugged. "If you don't believe me, there's nothing I can do." Yuna angrily made a call on speakerphone, and I could clearly hear the man on the other end. "Honey, were you set up? I saw a photo of you hugging my roommate. It must have been a trick of the angle, right?" The voice on the other end sounded lazy and indifferent. "Since you already know, let's break up. You're too materialistic. I prefer a good girl like Lydia. Last time we went out, you actually wanted to drink tea sendo. You've really changed. You've become the person I hate the most." Yuna sobbed, "But I'm having your baby. Are you really going to abandon your own child?" I already split the cost of the condoms with you. This child has nothing to do with me. You figure it out, and don't come looking for me." With that, he quickly hung up the phone, leaving Yuna alone in the dorm, sobbing uncontrollably. Just then, Lydia and Amy returned. "Lydia, how could you be such a bitch? Trying to seduce my boyfriend. Are you that desperate for a man?" Lydia crossed her arms, a look of disdain on her face. "You were so intimate with my boyfriend right in front of me. Did you think I was blind? What right do you have to accuse me now? That guy is so stingy, only you would ever go for him." That comment completely enraged Yuna. She raised her hand and slapped Lydia, the sharp sound echoing through the dorm room. Lydia wasn't one to back down. She immediately grabbed a handful of Yuna's hair, and the two of them started tearing into each other. Amy shrieked from the sidelines, "Stop fighting, please. Just stop fighting." I took 2 photos amidst the chaos. Noticing Yuna had already picked up the fruit knife from the table, frowning, I quietly approached the door. Almost immediately, Lydia rushed out the door ahead of me, only to be shoved down the stairs by Yuna. It was as if a scene from my past life was replaying, only this time, it wasn't me who was pushed, but Lydia. By the time I struggled free from the memories of my past life, Yuna was already closing in on me. Knife in hand, her eyes were bloodshot as she said, "Beryl, you're the reason I've fallen so low. I'm giving you one last chance now. Shut up and don't call the police, and I can get you a spot in grad school. If you don't shut up." She raised the knife in her hand, her threat unmistakable. Amy's legs had turned to jelly from fright. She whispered, "Just agree, Beryl. All you have to say is you don't know anything." Is that what they told Lydia in their past lives too? I chuckled, pointing to the security camera above us. "You probably don't know this, but the camera was fixed a few days ago. I'm the one who reported it broken." The previously hysterical Yuna suddenly calmed down. She said, "Beryl, I'm so sorry. I really messed up. Can you please let me go? I promise I'll never bother you again. I'll go online and clear things up right now. Just please don't report me." "Okay." Suddenly, she lunged at me, knife aimed at my face. I was ready, though, and dodged out of the way, sending Yuna tumbling down the stairs. My eyes met Amy's. She turned to run, but I shoved her down the stairs too. I chuckled. "Just kidding, guys. The camera was never fixed. Best friends stick together, right?" In the end, I still chose to call 119. It wasn't out of pity for those 3, but for the person I used to be in my past life, with the build-up from previous posts. This incident caused a huge uproar. The story of a college student attempting to murder her roommate stayed trending for days. Thanks to the prompt medical attention, Lydia's life was saved, but her spinal injuries were so severe that she'll be confined to a wheelchair for the rest of her life. Yuna and Amy had a human cushion to break their fall, so they ended up with relatively minor injuries, though they did suffer fractures. The counselor was thoroughly investigated and received disciplinary action, including dismissal. 5. To appease me, the faculty offered me a guaranteed graduate admission slot. With my academic record, I could get into a better university. Why would I accept this blood-stained opportunity? After a period of quiet, 2 police officers suddenly showed up at my door. "Hello there. The suspect is asking to see you and hopes for your cooperation. She smothered her 2 roommates in the same ward and is now in a highly unstable mental state. She's demanding to see you before she'll cooperate with the investigation." The moment I locked eyes with Yuna, I knew she had been reborn too. We were separated by thick bulletproof glass, but she still frantically threw herself against it like a madwoman. I expected her to hurl insults, but instead, she pleaded, "Beryl, I'm begging you. Please don't pursue this. My child can't be without a mother. And you could even be her godmother. My child can take care of you in your old age. I already helped you get rid of those bitches, Lydia and Amy. You just need to do this one small favor for me." Meeting her pleading gaze, I said, "I'm not interested in splitting the cost of formula and diapers with you. Go find someone else who is. Besides, you killed for your own reasons. Don't try to pin that on me." Stepping out of the police station, the sun was blazing, and I knew a brand new future had begun. Story 2. When we came of age, our family arranged marriages with 2 nine-tailed foxes for my sister and me to enhance our clan's spiritual power and lineage. My sister claimed the strong nine-tailed fox, leaving me with the one so frail it was nearly dying. To save his life, I nourished him with my own flesh and medicinal brews and tended to him with utmost care. In time, he rose to become the king of the spirit realm, and I his one and only fox consort. My sister's nine-tailed fox familiar led her astray with frivolous pleasures, draining her spiritual energy until she perished under heavenly lightning during her ascension. The fox shares its master's life force as it suffered, so did my sister, now coughing blood with death approaching. My own nine-tailed fox viciously tore open my abdomen, clawing out my millennium-cultivated golden core to revive my sister. Agony pierced my very bones as I screamed through tears, "I'll die," but he retorted, Clara, if it weren't for you, I would have been with Lola long ago. Only a core from her bloodline can save Lola, he said. You owe her this. I writhed in agony, barely conscious as they carved my abdomen open to extract the core, cursing my own misplaced trust. When my eyes fluttered open again, I found myself back on that fateful night when I first chose the nine-tailed fox. Without hesitation, my sister chose the weakest one for marriage, hoping to bear offspring and enhance spiritual power. But dear sister, your suffering has only begun. That feeble nine-tailed fox lacks reproductive essence and is utterly infertile. The agony I endured in my past life, you shall suffer twofold. Allying with nine-tailed foxes is our family's ancient tradition. Upon coming of age, our family selected compatible nine-tailed foxes for my sister and me, Clara, Lola. These are the nine-tailed foxes the clan has carefully chosen for you. Make your selection. Father gazed at us with tender affection. A sudden realization struck me. Was this rebirth? In our past life, my elder sister arrived a quarter hour earlier and claimed the robust nine-tailed fox, leaving me with the frail one. I had no choice but to take the nine-tailed fox home. The fox seemed born with a congenital weakness, though I bought medicines to nurse him back to health. Ordinary remedies proved utterly ineffective. Granny Ling served as the royal witch doctor. Versed in all matters celestial and terrestrial, she told me that to cure the nine-tailed fox's wasting sickness, an ally must offer flesh and blood. There might be hope for recovery, otherwise, the fox would waste away day by day, and I too would suffer the consequences. Following Spirit Nanny's advice, I began cutting my flesh to feed the nine-tailed fox with my blood. True enough, the fox grew stronger by the day, even surpassing my sister's nine-tailed fox in vigor. The nine-tailed fox excels in song and dance, with striking beauty, yet possesses a violent temperament. As its physical strength grows, it becomes prone to losing control. This was what the spirit matron told me, so, after the nine-tailed fox recovered, I began soothing it to strengthen its spiritual power as well. One day, the nine-tailed fox succeeded in unifying the spirit realm, and I became the envied queen consort. Meanwhile, my sister's nine-tailed fox indulged in frivolous pleasures, weakening its spiritual power, and was struck down by heavenly lightning during ascension. My sister got caught up in this, severely wounded and coughing up blood. Now hovering between life and death, my nine-tailed fox spirit grew frantic, tearing open my wound with bare hands to dig out my core essence, all to save her, trading my life for hers. Agony ripped through me as I screamed, demanding why he'd do this. He actually said, Clara, if you hadn't chosen me back then, I would have been with Lola by now. My heart sank into an icy abyss. I remember that day vividly. My sister completely ignored his existence, yet he still can't get her out of his mind. But he forgot, without my help, he'd never have recovered so swiftly or united the spirit realm. Instead of gratitude, he repaid me with resentment. Given another chance, I'd never choose him again. Clara, Ethan is yours now. My sister shoved the burly nine-tailed fox right next to me. Then she smiled at the scrawny nine-tailed fox and said, Liam, you'll be with me from now on. I promise to fatten you up nice and plump. So my sister had been reborn too. I glanced at my sister. She was beaming with delight, not even trying to hide her triumphant expression. Liam's eyes sparkled with a smile so radiant not even an AK-47 could suppress it. In our past life, he resented me for choosing her. Now in this life, he finally gets to follow sister as he'd always wished. Feigning hesitation, I said, Sister, are you certain? Liam doesn't look well. Do you really want to ally with him? Since childhood, sister had been fiercely competitive. She always claimed the best things for herself, leaving me with the scraps. Today's behavior was rather unusual. Even mother noticed something was off. She asked sister solemnly if she'd made up her mind. For once allied with the nine-tailed fox, their fates would be bound together, an unbreakable bond for life. Knowing sister's temperament well, mother couldn't fathom why she'd choose the feeble nine-tailed fox. Liam stared nervously at his sister, afraid she might change her mind. His sister smiled warmly. Father, mother, don't worry. Liam and I clicked instantly. I won't go back on my word. Liam's entire face lit up with excitement. Mother turned to me, and what about you? I linked arms with Ethan and vowed, I won't go back on my word either. Ethan swept me up in an excited bear hug, lifting me sky high. A flicker of disdain passed through my sister's eyes. She probably thought Ethan was just a fun-loving guy who knew nothing but eating, drinking, and lifting girls. Utterly useless. Ethan came home with me, full of energy. He smashed 3 vases and a fish tank, then devoured all the chickens, ducks, and geese in my yard, surveying the chaos. I laid down 10 house rules for him. Ethan curled up on the couch whimpering pitifully. Sensing the nine-tailed fox's impending agitation, I quickly reached out to soothe his silken tails. True enough, he soon calmed beneath my touch, his azure eyes softening as they met mine. In their past life, after Ethan followed his sister home, he became quite the troublemaker, whether pilfering fresh river shrimp or swallowing her prized parrot whole. Without understanding how to soothe the Ninetales' spiritual energy, their encounters always escalated into chaos. Gradually, Ethan became so obsessed with trivial pursuits that his spiritual energy began to wane. In the end, Ethan forced his ascension and was struck down by heavenly lightning. At this thought, I couldn't help but feel a twinge of concern with Ethan's unruly nature. Guiding him through this tribulation would require me to expend considerable spiritual energy to stabilize his psyche. For several days, I soothed Ethan's mental energy daily, and his temperament gradually became calmer and more composed. Ethan was already physically robust, and with this care, he grew even stronger, until one day, Sister Ling informed me that my elder sister had been bitten by Liam. I took Ethan with me to visit my sister. My sister lay on the bed, looking utterly drained, her face twisted with pent-up fury. Liam crouched at the foot of the bed, his fluffy tail drooping to the floor, his eyes flickering nervously when he saw me. My sister vented her rage through gritted teeth. If we weren't already allied with him, She swallowed the rest of her words, but I knew she meant I'd kill him. Yet, she couldn't. Feigning concern, I asked, Sister, did Mother Ling tell you the solution? My sister hesitated, then shook her head. Liam's eyes dimmed as his foxtail gave an unwilling twitch. By the way, how's he doing? My sister asked. Pointing at Ethan, I smiled. Ethan treats me very well. Come, show us a dance. Ethan obediently wagged his tail and began dancing. My sister watched in stunned silence. In his past life, Ethan was utterly mischievous. His sister couldn't control him no matter what. She tried training him in advanced dance moves, but Ethan lacked patience and never cooperated properly. But now, his sister's face kept shifting between pale and ashen. Seeing her distress and Liam's dejection, I quietly took Ethan away. We'd barely taken a few steps when Liam caught up with us. Pretending not to notice Liam, I kept walking alongside Ethan, spotting a squirrel on the wall. Ethan ignored my protests and darted up the barrier in a flash. I stomped my foot in frustration. That Ethan is way too carefree and casual, doesn't show the slightest respect for me as his master. Seems I'll have to add a few more house rules. Just then, Liam sneaked up and wrapped his arms around mine. Clara, will you take me away with you? You clearly had feelings for me that day. My breath hitched. What the hell are you talking about? Liam grasped my hand, pleading, Clara, I'm your beast man, won't you choose me again? So Liam has been reborn too. No wonder Liam looked so disappointed when we mentioned the spirit nanny earlier. If only my sister would agree to the flesh-cutting blood ritual, he'd be completely healed. And once healed, he could unite the spirit realm. So, is he fawning over me just to suck me dry? I scoffed and broke free from his grip. I have no idea what you're talking about. You're clearly my sister's beastman. Stop poisoning our sisterly bond. I turned away, but Liam doggedly pursued me. Ethan on the wall stared at us with piercing eyes. I blinked and turned to Liam. So you're that eager to be my orc? Liam froze momentarily before nodding eagerly. Master, I pledge myself to you. Ethan scrambled up the tree by the wall, angrily swatting at the branches with his paws in protest. Pretending not to notice, I reached up to gently stroke Liam's back. I knew his physical condition like the back of my hand. As I petted him, Liam closed his eyes contentedly, savoring the touch. Just then, a dark figure swooped down from the tree, lunging at Liam with lightning speed. When I came to my senses, I saw Ethan savagely biting Liam in a fit of rage. Caught off guard and overpowered by Ethan's brute strength, Liam was quickly pummeled to the ground, unable to get up. Then Ethan cocked his head at me, his eyes brimming with defiance. I gasped, Ethan, what are you doing, Master? I'm your real beast man. He's marking his territory now. Weren't you the one who abandoned me just now? Why'd you come back? Ethan pouted. Master, I was wrong. Oh, and what exactly were you wrong about? I shouldn't have left your side without permission. His face flushed red as he finally bowed his head in apology. I chuckled softly. Good, Ethan truly needed to be tamed, and today, Liam's unexpected appearance had actually brought him to his senses. Liam struggled to his feet, reaching for my sleeve, only to be snatched up by Ethan's foxtail and flung 5 yards away. Don't let me see you again, or I'll treat you just like this tree. With that, Ethan lashed his tail against the tree. The thick tree trunk snapped instantly like a twig. Ethan's skills are truly impressive. After returning home, Ethan laid down some ground rules. Master, I'll behave from now on. Please don't provoke other beastmen anymore. I chuckled. Turns out Ethan's weakness is possessiveness. Fine, then you'll do exactly as I say. Ethan nodded. Then lie down over there. I pointed to the bed. Ethan blushed slightly. In broad daylight, Master, what are you trying to do? I glared. Didn't you promise to obey my every word? Or should I summon another orc? I'll go. He scampered obediently and flopped onto the bed. Then he beckoned. The bed's warm now, Master, come quick. With a derisive snort, I produced a wooden plank and smacked his palm. He blinked in surprise. Master, I was warming your bed. Why did you hit me? Who said anything about bed warming? I patted his head and began tracing the acupressure points along his body with gentle strokes. Oh, wasn't that the case? What are you thinking? As sworn allies, we're bound as closely as husband and wife. I'm helping you channel your spiritual energy. Ethan gave an awkward chuckle, his ears instantly turning crimson. His fox-like features became even more alluring. He stretched beneath my touch, letting out contented little murmurs. From that day onward, after each spiritual energy alignment session, I'd have him train with me to prepare for his ascension to unify the spirit realm. In his past life, Ethan's insufficient spiritual energy and reckless rush to ascend led to him being struck dead by heavenly lightning. In this lifetime, I can't let him take that risk again. But Liam wouldn't give up. He kept lurking around our house, watching our every move. That day, I made an excuse to send Ethan away and let Liam in. "What's the matter?" I asked him. He stammered nervously, saying he was in poor health and begged me to save his life. "How could I possibly save you?" I asked in astonishment. His eyes lit up. "Clara, I just need a tiny piece of your flesh and blood, but you're my sister's orc. Why should I save you? Go beg her for help instead. You're allies now. She won't just stand by and do nothing." "I refuse." Liam's mouth opened, then closed as he hung his head. His sister must have refused to help him. With the ascension deadline approaching, he's desperate enough to come begging to me now. Liam prostrated at my feet, his sapphire eyes brimming with tears. "Clara, I had a dream where I was your orc, and you healed me. Your devotion matches my loyalty. We lived happily together." My fists clenched as memories flooded back, the urge to strike him overwhelming. I took a deep breath. "Will giving you my flesh and blood truly save your life?" Liam's eyes sparkled with delight. "Yes, Clara. My life hangs by your decision. My death matters little, but dragging Lola down with me, that I cannot bear." His words dripped with sincerity, while icy laughter coiled in my heart. After devouring everything and leaving me to die in my past life, now he dares ask for my help. Since when does karma work that way? Unless, lowering my eyes with a smile, I said, "I'll help you, but you must agree to one condition." "What's the condition?" Liam's eyes sparkled. "After you recover, stay by your sister's side at all times. Don't come looking for me again," I said. He looked surprised. "That's it." I nodded earnestly. "Yes, after all, you're my sister's beast man. I want you two to be happy together." Liam hesitated for a moment before agreeing. His condition had deteriorated severely. Without human blood and flesh to sustain him, his mental energy would soon collapse, compared to his former glory. He couldn't possibly accept this decline, so we struck a deal. For the next month, I'd supply him with flesh and blood to hasten his recovery. Liam pounced onto my shoulder without hesitation, baring his fangs toward my neck, for I dodged with effortless grace. My recent training sessions with Ethan have significantly boosted my energy reserves, making orc attacks easy to evade now. "Just wait here, I'll be right back." Grabbing a tray, I headed into the room. On the table lay the wild hare Ethan had hunted. I carved a chunk of rabbit meat with my dagger and tossed it onto the tray. "Still want to feast on my flesh and blood? Dream on." With a cold snort, I wrapped a cloth around my arm to feign injury before stepping out of the room. I handed the tray to Liam, grimacing in mock pain. "Get lost. From now on, I'll deliver the meat to the garden every evening." Liam nodded eagerly and wolfed down the meat on his plate. "This taste," he frowned slightly, "feels somewhat familiar." Suddenly, he clamped his mouth shut. I sneered. "Did you taste it in your dreams or something?" He shook his head vigorously like a rattledrum. "Clara, don't get me wrong. I was just speaking offhand," he said cautiously, watching me as if afraid I'd change my mind. "I'll never forget your tremendous kindness." With a frosty expression, I shoved him out the door. Who cares about his sweet talk? All I want in this life is to see him crushed by Ethan. The moment I left, Ethan came right back. Ethan sniffed the air and grimaced. "Master, what's that stench? Who was here just now?" Orcs have keen senses of smell. Nothing escapes their notice. I won't lie. It was Liam who showed up, but I chased him off. Ethan scowled with jealousy. "Him again. Master, if he keeps bothering you, I'll pluck every last feather from his tail." He must have sensed Liam's ambitions, which made him deeply resentful of the guy. I laughed. "Plucking his tail feathers? That's child's play. Why not conquer the spirit realm instead? Then I could at least be your queen, once we form an alliance. We become one, sharing both glory and disgrace." Ethan narrowed his blue eyes, pinning me against the bed without warning. "My liege, do you know the duties of a royal consort?" I feigned ignorance. "What duties?" "For centuries, the spirit realm has been in chaos, requiring both a capable ruler and a worthy successor." He grinned mischievously before pinning me down, whispering, "Time to fulfill our marital duties." Ah, that's way too blunt. After Ethan's psychic powers grew stronger, he often materialized in human form. His sculpted physique and chiseled features made my heart flutter wildly as I gazed at his face. "Master, your silence means consent, doesn't it?" he whispered in my ear. My body burned as I pushed against him twice, but an orc's strength far surpasses a human's. My resistance was futile, leaving me helpless beneath his relentless advance. I ran into my sister and Liam on the street. Liam had been thriving lately. his glossy fur gleaming and his 9 tails meticulously groomed to perfection. Lately, I've been feeding Liam a mix of duck and chicken meat, always laced with chi-tonifying herbs. That's why he appears to be thriving, but it's merely superficial improvement. His spiritual energy remains unregulated. Chaotic chi surges through his meridians, risking complete energetic collapse. My sister gloated. See, Clara, I've got better taste. My orc clearly outclasses yours. She seemed thoroughly pleased with her choice, gazing at Liam with adoring eyes. Don't believe me, my sister beckoned to Liam. Go on, uproot that tree. The towering street tree had stood there for at least a dozen years. With a whoop, Liam shook off the 9 tails coiled around the tree trunk. In the blink of an eye, the massive tree was uprooted. My sister exclaimed excitedly, see that, Clara? I forcibly restrained the restless Ethan. He chimed in, truly impressive, but I noticed Liam's face had gone pale, a clear sign of mental exhaustion. The copious energy-restoring medications masked his underlying frailty. Not just his sister, even Liam himself became convinced he was cured, eager to prove himself. His mental strength would eventually run dry. Yet he remained unaware that he was already a hollow shell. In this life, he was destined to be the loser. Returned home, Ethan asked me in confusion why I stopped him from acting earlier. I chuckled. No need to prove yourself in haste. The spirit realm is about to select a successor. Why don't you enter the competition? Do I really stand a chance? Absolutely. I nodded solemnly. During this period, Ethan and I intensified our training while I diligently helped him channel his psychic energy. His current abilities far surpass Liam's from our past life. That's why I'm absolutely convinced Ethan will achieve a resounding victory. Within days, disaster struck my sister. I rushed home only to hear Mom say Liam had bitten my sister again. I gasped. How could that be? In our past life, Liam would have killed me to save her. Why would he keep hurting her in this life? What's more, they've grown particularly close lately. My sister was convinced his chronic condition had healed and doted on him constantly. Mother snapped angrily. He blamed your sister for failing to soothe his psychic energy. In a fit of rage, he hurt Lola. I arched an eyebrow, sensing Mother wasn't telling the whole truth. All these years, Mother had always doted on my sister, granting her every whim. Could she be covering something up for her? I went to see Nanny Ling, and sure enough, she revealed there was another reason behind Liam biting his sister. The main cause was that his sister kept showing off Liam's abilities to others, forcing him to expend mental energy performing for the crowd, yet she never knew how to soothe Liam's exhausted psyche. Liam had a naturally violent temperament, and with his energy completely drained, chaotic energies surged through his organs, triggering an early eruption. Is there still hope? Nanny Ling shook her head. Ancient texts say human flesh can nourish vital essence, but alas, his chronic frailty has progressed too far, beyond cure long ago. I remained silent. Nanny Ling added, your sister insists on forcibly breaking the covenant with Liam. Were you aware of this? I was stunned. Wasn't the alliance with the orc supposed to be unbreakable? Could there really be another way? Elder Ling gave me a penetrating look. There is one method, though perilous beyond measure. It requires shared bloodline. By exchanging each other's core essence, the pact can be undone. Her words struck my heart like a hammer, each syllable sending waves of piercing pain through me. That night, I asked Ethan, if I were to use my core essence to save someone, would you understand? Ethan's eyes flew open as he shook his head violently. Master, losing your core essence means certain death. Did Lola force you into this? I stared in shock. What are you talking about? He wore a smug expression. I remembered my past life long ago. Master, 5. I was shocked. In our past life, my sister mistreated Ethan and caused his tragic death. That's such a painful memory. How could he possibly remember all of it? I clicked my tongue, about to ask him something. Ethan added, Lola isn't worth saving. I pressed him for an explanation. He raised his head in silence before finally muttering a few words. You'll find out soon enough anyway. I was completely baffled. Though my sister from the previous life wasn't particularly close to me, she'd never done anything outright terrible. When Liam tried to extract my core essence to save his sister, a sudden thought struck me. Was this actually his sister's doing? Lost in thought, I suddenly heard a mournful whimper outside the door. I opened the door to find Liam sprawled on the doorstep, gazing at me with pitiful eyes. What are you doing back here? I snapped impatiently. Liam blinked his fox-like eyes, tears streaming down his face. Clara, will you be my master? I want to break the pact with Lola. I let out a bitter laugh. Was breaking the pact my sister's idea? Is he here to sound me out in advance? Thinking I was interested, Liam tried to throw himself into my arms. Out of nowhere, Ethan leaped forward and kicked him flying. Get lost. Who the hell do you think you are? Making moves on my master. Ethan pulled me behind him, his towering frame shielding me completely. Liam tumbled twice in midair with shrieks, then scrambled up to glare venomously at Ethan, but knowing he was no match for Ethan, he dared not make a move. Ethan declared arrogantly, go tell your master to abandon these crooked schemes, or I'll make you both regret the day you were born. With that, Ethan slammed the door shut, leaving Liam stranded outside. The next day, my mother stormed up to me in a rage. "So you've got eyes for Lola's orc, and you've been carrying on with him." I was stunned. "Mother, when did I ever?" "Lola saw it with her own eyes yesterday. Liam came looking for you again. If you hadn't been leading him on, why would he abandon Lola?" It dawned on me, could it be that my sister secretly followed Liam and saw him visiting me yesterday? But why didn't she confront me then and there, instead of stirring up Mother to come demand answers now? I let out a cold laugh. "Mother, what exactly brings you here today?" Mother froze for a moment, then pulled out a handkerchief to wipe her eyes. "Clara, you and Lola are both the apple of my eye," she said, and then, "Lola is ill now. She needs your help. Would you be willing to swap beast forms with her and give her your core energy?" I burst out laughing. Since childhood, Mother always favored my sister. No matter the situation, my sister's needs came first. Now that my sister's been wounded by allied orcs, Mother's first thought is to trade my life for hers. 6. My face darkened as I refused her. "Ethan is my orc. I won't switch places with my sister, and I'll never give her my core energy. But I've got a solution." My solution was to feed Liam with my sister's flesh. As long as we could keep Liam calm, my sister's condition would naturally improve. Mother was deeply hesitant, but there simply wasn't a better alternative at the time. If we forcibly break the alliance bond, without my core essence, sister will surely die. Mother couldn't bear the thought, so she reluctantly agreed to give it a try. But I didn't tell Mother that even feeding Liam with sister's flesh and blood wouldn't cure him, for as Spirit Nanny once said, "Liam's wasting sickness has seeped into his marrow. We're long past the window for treatment." Mother said joyfully, "Lola keeps talking about becoming the spirit realm's princess consort. It seems her wish may come true." The corners of my lips twitched, but I remained silent. "Mother, sister, our paths diverge. Since you've shown no mercy, don't blame me for what comes next. The Spirit Realm Succession Tournament is about to begin. Creatures of the sky and beasts of the land." Countless orcs spread the news eagerly, itching for action. Ethan signed up too, clenching his fist with conviction. "Master, I shall unite the Spirit Realm and seat you as its queen. Since the last ruler of the spirit realm abdicated centuries ago, this domain has remained lawless and ungoverned. Eventually, after much deliberation, the people resolved to elect a successor to reunify the spirit realm." I ruffled his hair and said, "All right, I'll be waiting." When we arrived at the competition venue, we saw my sister and Liam. My sister was radiant with energy, and Liam looked equally spirited. After giving us a quick once-over, she handed us 2 water bottles. "It's been a long journey, you must be thirsty, have some water." I smiled and passed it to someone else. "No need to trouble yourself, sis, we brought our own water." The person took the water and took a sip. My sister pursed her lips and turned her head away. Ethan took off his canteen, drank a few gulps, then handed it to me before leaping onto the viewing platform. As expected, Ethan advanced to the finals after the first round of competition. Liam also gave it his all and secured a spot in the finals. His sister couldn't contain her excitement, cheering wildly for Liam, but during the finals, Liam's agitation flared up. He lost the match and was even kicked off the viewing platform by his opponent. The sister gasped and rushed forward. Liam lay limp on the ground, blood trickling from his nose and mouth. Even one of his 9 proud tails had been severed. The sister turned pale. A broken tail signified waning spiritual power, stripping him of eligibility to succeed the spirit realm's throne. "No, this can't be true." My sister shook her head, her eyes clouded with confusion. "But he clearly unified the spirit realm. In his past life, Liam did conquer the spirit realm with my help, but now he hasn't even recovered from his illness. How could he possibly claim the throne as spirit lord?" I shook her shoulders. "Sis, snap out of it." The crowd let out murmurs of pity, their gazes filled with compassion as they looked at her. Then, my husband on the viewing platform began clapping enthusiastically. "The new successor of the spirit realm has emerged." I looked up to see Ethan waving his arm at me excitedly. He truly lived up to expectations. My sister has completely lost it. Despite being reborn and scheming relentlessly, her orc still failed to secure the successor's throne in the spirit realm. Mother's voice turned icy sharp. "How could you be so cruel? Why would you betray Lola?" My eyes turned icy. "Mother, you're so focused on saving sister's life. Did you know losing my core essence would kill me?" Mother gaped in shock. "Impossible, your sister clearly said." I cut her off. Maybe Mother was deceived by sister, but I couldn't bear hearing more about their scheming. The very thought made me sick. "Before the match, sister gave me water laced with dissipating agent," I said quietly. "She wanted to weaken Ethan's psychic power so he'd lose to Liam. This was what the spirit matron told me. Those orcs who drank the 2 bottles of water were too weak to climb the spectator stands, forced to watch the competition helplessly." Mother's eyes widened in shock. Ethan became the new successor to the spirit realm, while I became his princess consort, accompanying him to this mystical world, here, free from mother and sister's schemes and worldly troubles. I spent my days watering flowers and playing with birds, living in pure bliss, but soon I could no longer lift the water jug, for I was with child. 7. Ethan was overjoyed, for a successor without progeny is unworthy to rule the spirit realm. Such was the fate of his predecessor. He would often caress my belly and whisper in my ear, "How wonderful. With him, it feels like we have everything." Story 2. The virus mutated, and the end of the world came, with my good fighting skills. I protected my boyfriend and my cousin and fled all the way. Finally, at the end of the second year of the apocalypse, we arrived near the safe base, but then my boyfriend pushed me to block the zombies for my screaming cousin. In the end, I was torn apart alive by countless zombies. Before I died, my mother, who disappeared after taking in my cousin's family, flashed through my mind. The family heirloom that was borrowed by my cousin and lost, and the strange expression of a strange man. With a smile but also a look of regret, I opened my eyes wide and looked at my boyfriend who was running away with my cousin. My eyes were full of hatred. Finally, I closed my eyes heavily. At the same time, it seemed that an electronic voice sounded in my ear. 1. When I opened my eyes again, there were no ugly and ferocious zombies, nor that adulterer and adulteress who wanted my life. I was in the bedroom of the apartment where I had lived for a year next to City University. I couldn't believe it and groped for my phone from the bedside table. When I opened it, it showed, September 20th, 2030, I was reborn. I was reborn a week before the end of the world. I quickly got out of bed and opened the curtains to look down. There was a familiar supermarket downstairs. Opposite was City University where I had studied for a year. Today, the university had just started school. And there were people coming and going. Everywhere was full of vitality. I rushed into the bathroom and splashed cold water on my face. I looked up at my young and delicate face in the mirror. The 19-year-old girl had fair skin, not the skinny and sallow face 2 years later. My name is Valerie, and it's not my time to die. I wanted to shout, but I couldn't even make a sound. The end of the world would come again. In the 2 years of the apocalypse I experienced, the mutation of the virus caused the living dead zombies to surround the city. That's why City was only 300 kilometers away from Leeching. It only took 4 hours to drive, but it took me a full 2 years to get there. I smiled bitterly and walked into the kitchen. I opened the refrigerator and stuffed all the edible food in it into my mouth. I hadn't eaten enough for a full 2 years. Now I just wanted to have a good meal. After eating 2 sandwiches, a ham, and a small piece of cake, there was only a watermelon left that could be eaten in the refrigerator. I took out the fruit knife next to it and cut the watermelon in half. I accidentally cut my finger. These hands were no longer as rough and ugly as they were after 2 years of surviving in the apocalypse. The fair fingers bled nonstop from a small wound. The blood flowed onto the white jade ring on my middle finger. Suddenly, it went dark in front of my eyes, and I entered a space. The space was 5 times the size of the apartment I lived in. It was estimated to be more than 500 square meters, about 3 meters high. It was empty and had nothing in it. When I opened my eyes again, I was back in the kitchen, and the ring was gone. There was only a red dot where the ring was worn. I looked at the red dot in surprise, and the knife in my other hand suddenly disappeared. I shook my head and looked again, and the knife appeared in my hand again. A space like a chinkuin bag. I picked up the watermelon next to it and tried. I thought put it away in my mind, and the watermelon disappeared again. Then I thought take it out, and sure enough, it appeared in my hand again. I laughed with excitement and finally understood why my boyfriend of more than 2 years pushed me to block the zombies for Vivian, because in my previous life, the white jade ring left to me by my father was lost after being borrowed by Vivian. I guess she got this opportunity and didn't want to return it to me. The reason why they kept me was that, first, I had learned Taekwondo and could resist the outside enemies to some extent. Second, I was quite good-looking and was a famous beauty in the Department of Chemistry. In case someone had bad intentions, they would definitely set their eyes on me first. In my previous life, Valerie, was out of my mind and couldn't see clearly the duplicity of Vivian and Owen. In this life, without my opportunity and me protecting them in front, I want to see what kind of end this adulterer and adulteress will come to. I quickly dealt with the wound. I didn't care about eating anymore and took out all my savings, 700,000 yuan in cash and 2 property certificates. My family condition was not bad. When I was a child, my father ran a jade store, and my mother was a nutritionist. Later, after my father died, my mother sold the jade store and raised me alone. My mother was the only relative I had in this world. In order to make my mother and I live better in the end of the world, I decided to sell the house and turn it into cash to stockpile food quickly. In fact, there should be 3 property certificates at home. One was the property certificate of the old house, which was given to my father by my grandfather. The property certificate of the villa in Leeching was with my mother. I only had the property certificate of the apartment my mother bought for me when I came to study in City. And the property certificate of the house compensated after my father died in a car accident when I was in primary school. This property certificate was in my name, but Vivian's family was still living in this house. It was not easy for my mother to raise me alone. She always thought that it was easy for our mother and daughter to be bullied, so she hoped that my uncle could take care of us when we were bullied. And my good uncle directly took Vivian's family and moved into this compensated house. He said it was to help us look after the house, but in fact, he was taking advantage of us and wanted to occupy our family property. My mother didn't take the house back out of consideration for our relationship. This time, I decided to break off the relationship directly. I immediately called my mother. "Hello, Valerie, my dear." It was a familiar voice that I hadn't heard for 2 years. I suppressed my sadness and took a deep breath. My tone was very calm. "Mom, I miss you. I want to go home." "Oh, what's wrong, Valerie? Is someone bullying you at school?" "Mom, I'm fine. It's almost the weekend. I want to go home and see you. I will also buy some things and send them back. Please help me collect them. Besides, I saw several cases of burglary and murder online. I think the doors and windows at home are not strong enough and I don't feel safe, so I want to renovate the house. Mom, will you support me?" Okay. Mom will cook some delicious food at home and wait for you to come back." My mother, who always thought I had suffered, would agree to everything as long as I didn't do anything wrong. 2. I'm not sure if the end of the world will come early. I must go home early, but I can't send supplies home directly. To avoid being targeted by the renovation workers, I have to stockpile some supplies in S City before leaving. I only survived for 2 years in the end of the world. And I don't know what extreme challenges are waiting for us after 2 years. I need to buy everything. To save time, I contacted a reliable construction team in Leaching online. "Hello, master. I have a house in the villa area of Leaching that I want to renovate. I want to add an electric fence to the wall, reinforce the doors and windows, use 5-layer steel hardened glass for the windows, and install underfloor heating, a generator, and a water storage tank." I needed to be renovated within 3 days. The master looked speechless. "That's impossible. Many things need to be measured and we have to wait for the factory to deliver the goods. I'll triple the price." "Girl, 3 days is too rushed. Quadruple the price. Tell me the specific address, and I'll send someone right away." After doing all this, I paid a deposit of 200,000 yuan, remembering the days of lacking food and clothing in my previous life. I thought that Owen abandoned me immediately and ran away with Vivian because he knew about her space. When they secretly ate and stored food behind my back, I was enduring the cold and hunger. In this life, I must live a good life with my mother. The space was only 500 square meters, and I had to calculate every square meter carefully. Fortunately, it was high enough to stack things, worried about missing something. I made a shopping list for myself. 100 square meters for food, rice, cooking oil, noodles, bread, chocolate, biscuits, instant noodles, self-heating hot pot, meat, vegetables, fruits, dried goods, salt, seasonings, and all kinds of snacks. 100 square meters for water, barreled water, mineral water, domestic water, beverages, milk. 50 square meters for clothing. 1,000 sets of clothes and shoes for my mother and me for all seasons. I also prepared some styles for women, men, and children in case of need. I also added some quilt covers and warm-keeping supplies. 50 square meters for medicine, common medicines for daily colds and fevers, injuries from falls, antibiotics, wind oil essence, cooling oil, alcohol, iodophor, disinfected gauze, Yunnan bio, etc. I placed orders in various pharmacies for both traditional Chinese medicine and Western medicine. For the medicines that couldn't be bought, I would collect them when the end of the world came. 100 square meters for daily necessities, toothpaste, toothbrush, paper towels, toilet paper, sanitary napkins, pots and pans, solid alcohol, gas, shampoo, shower gel, hand sanitizer, towels, insecticides, garbage bags, and extra-large trash cans. Among them, I set aside 20 square meters for weapons, baseball bats, crossbows and arrows, spiked clubs, fruit knives, military knives, anti-wolf spray, stun guns, entrenching shovels, etc. For the last 100 square meters, I decided to put a motorhome, an SUV, a motorcycle, and 3 speedboats, and fill them with gasoline and diesel. If I could fill this 500 square meter space that was 3 meters high, my mother and I could live a good life for 10 years in the end of the world. It was too time-consuming and laborious to stockpile supplies by myself. I directly rented a large warehouse in a remote area of Leaching online for 2 weeks. I also contacted 6 intermediaries and hired them for a week at a price of 10 000 yuan each. I gave each of them a purchase list for a category of supplies and asked them to contact the sellers in the large market and buy food, water, daily necessities, and clothing in units of 1,000. I also gave an extra 20,000 yuan to each intermediary who could buy medicines and gasoline. Medicines and gasoline were controlled items, and it was more troublesome to contact the sellers. It was reasonable to give more money. They couldn't buy a lot of medicines and gasoline. But I decided to stockpile some first and collect more when there was no control after the end of the world. There were many things I couldn't explain in detail. Following the principle that the more you say, the more mistakes you make, I told each intermediary, it's a purchase for the company, there is a budget of 1 million yuan, the quality needs to be guaranteed, and other things can be adjusted flexibly. The supplies need to be inspected and put into the designated warehouse within 3 days. Contact me after the things are confirmed. I will pay the deposit, and I will pay the remaining balance and the intermediary fee after the supplies are put in storage. I don't know if the intermediaries are trustworthy, but this is the fastest way to collect supplies that I can think of in the shortest time, of course. I know that buying so many things will arouse suspicion. I don't plan to meet any of the intermediaries. After using the space to take away the supplies, when the end of the world comes and the network is completely cut off, who will have the time to check? There are many things to prepare. The construction team will be at home these days. To avoid suspicion, I only ordered some outdoor supplies like ropes, backpacks, masks, and protective clothing online. I put all the things in the apartment into the space and made an appointment with the intermediary to sell the 2 houses in my name first. The old villa will be our home for a long time. In my previous life, the old villa was very close to the safe base. In case that area is included in the safe base in the future, it will be a loss to sell it. I tidied myself up, took my ID card and property certificates, and went to meet the intermediary to get the money as soon as possible. I sold the 2 houses at 60% of the price. I only received 8 million yuan for the 2 houses, which was almost the price I expected. After getting the money, I also vaguely reminded the intermediary that the city might be sealed again in a few days and it was better to stockpile some food. In addition, I specifically told them to take over the houses 6 days later, leaving my uncle's family homeless one day before the end of the world. 3. It was 2 p.m. after I got the money, and I was going to find a restaurant to eat. Oh, what a coincidence. Vivian was pulling Owen's arm and acting coquettishly on the opposite side of the road. The intermediary store was near the school. It was not surprising to meet either Owen or Vivian, but it was really strange that they were together. I immediately took out my phone and took a few photos. These photos could definitely make people recognize who these 2 people pulling and tugging were. Owen and I were classmates. Although Vivian was in the same grade as us, she was a student in the Department of Economics and Management. Now, Owen and I had just been in a relationship for less than 3 months. It didn't matter why they were together. I just wanted them to experience the end of the world without me in the space, where their lives would be worse than death. Looking at them, the hatred and killing intent in my eyes were so strong that it seemed I could turn them into knives and stab them into their hearts. Owen seemed to see me and panicked for a moment. He let go of Vivian's hand and walked towards me directly. Vivian slowly followed behind Owen. Valerie, why are you here? Where are you going? He was 185 meters tall, with delicate features and fair skin. Owen looked like a tall, handsome, and sunny boy back then. I got together with him not because I was obsessed with his eye-catching face. I liked his family. He was an only son. His parents were high school teachers, and they loved each other. His family was harmonious and warm. I had met his parents who came to visit him at school. The family atmosphere was like a beam of light shining into my life that lacked fatherly love since I was a child. After meeting his parents, I almost didn't hesitate to agree to be his girlfriend. Unfortunately, it was all just an appearance. It's not the time to take revenge yet, but I could at least get some interest. I closed my eyes, and the hatred in my eyes turned into anger. Looking at my angry eyes, Owen thought I misunderstood him. I was going to find you with Vivian. Slap. A crisp slapping sound rang out. I used all my strength, and Owen's face was slapped to the side. A red palm print quickly appeared. Sister, how could you hit Owen? Vivian exclaimed. Owen raised his head, and a trace of viciousness flashed in his eyes. I saw it clearly, but so what? Vivian was a woman he liked but hadn't slept with yet. Owen wouldn't tear his face at this moment. Slap. The slapping sound rang out again, and this time it hit Vivian's face. Why did you hit me? Vivian stared at me hatefully, then she seemed to think of something and quickly lowered her head and started crying softly. Owen, we're breaking up. After saying that, I turned around and left. I didn't want to waste time with this adulterer and adulteress. Owen quickly ran up and grabbed my hand. Valerie, are you misunderstanding me and Vivian? There's nothing between us. We just happened to meet. Vivian said she wanted to go to your place to find you together. Vivian also quickly came over and held my hand. She groped my hand and said, yeah, sister, you've misunderstood us. Don't be angry. Let's go to your place and I'll explain to you. Okay. I shook off their hands. Sister. Who's your sister? You were so intimate with my boyfriend. Your family even occupied the inheritance my father got as compensation after the car accident. You ate the food stained with human blood and you still want to be sisters with me. Sister, you've misunderstood. There's nothing between me and Owen. My aunt told us to move in. If you mind, we'll move out right away. Fine. Then call your father immediately and tell them to get out. Vivian tried to hold me again and said anxiously. Sister, what's wrong with you? Slap. I slapped Vivian again. Get lost. Vivian raised her hand as if she wanted to slap me back, but halfway through, she touched her face and cried with tears streaming down her face. Sister, we'll move right away. Can you lend me a ring for 2 days? I have a competition and I need this ring as a prop, just for 2 days. No, 1 day is enough. I was highly alert. In my previous life, it was the same lame excuse. She came to me in a panic and said she lost the ring just 2 days after borrowing it. But in this life, she endured my 2 slaps just for the ring and even deliberately touched the place where the ring was on my hand. Has Vivian also been reborn? I looked at Vivian and chuckled. You want the ring? Sure. Kneel down and beg me. Vivian looked at me in shock. Her face changed several times. She glanced at Owen and finally fell silent. Owen didn't seem to want to pay attention to Vivian. He directly stepped beside me and looked at me. Valerie. I didn't know what your relationship with Vivian is. She came to me and said she wanted to find you together. There's really nothing between me and her. Don't misunderstand. His gentle and considerate look as a good boyfriend made me want to vomit. I didn't bother to look at him and turned around to walk to the roadside and directly hailed a taxi to leave. Sitting in the car, I touched my hand. If Vivian has been reborn and she knows the secret of the space, I must get rid of her as soon as possible. In my previous life, Owen might have known that Vivian had a space, but Vivian might not have told him that the space was in the physical ring. This time, Vivian asked for the ring in front of Owen. If she dared to tell Owen the secret, with Owen's intelligence, he would definitely guess that the ring was the space immediately. But Vivian doesn't know that I also know the secret of the space. In order to get the space, she will definitely come to me again, and in order to monopolize the space, she definitely won't be willing to reveal the secret. In order not to let Vivian notice that I've also been reborn, I specifically only asked for a 2-day leave from school, with the 2 days of the weekend added. If she can't find me on the 5th day, she will be kicked out of the house on the 6th day. After thinking it through, I pretended to take out a tablet from my bag. Owen's chat account was still logged in. From their chat records, I could see that Vivian was reborn at the same time as me. After being reborn, Vivian had a clear plan. First, she expressed to Owen that she was willing to have an affair with him behind my back and asked for 1 million yuan. She sold herself for 5 years. Then she came to me to get the space ring. She calculated so shrewdly, why not let everyone see it? I directly took screenshots and sent all the photos I just took on the campus website with the caption, "Shocking. Should we report my boyfriend Owen for soliciting prostitutes? Is the fee of 1 million yuan for Vivian's solicitation expensive? This will definitely arouse a lot of discussion. Let them become famous." After getting out of the taxi, my first stop was the car dealership. As soon as I walked into the car dealership, a salesman with an oiled back hairstyle came over. "Beautiful lady, are you buying a car?" "No. I'm renting a car." The obsequious attitude of the salesman disappeared immediately and he said in an ordinary tone, "What kind of car do you want to rent?" I raised my hand and pointed at a Hummer. "This one. I want to rent it for a week." After paying the deposit and the rent, I drove the car to a roadside restaurant and had a quick stir-fry. I packed 3 boxes of steamed buns to eat on the way later. After eating, I got in the car and put the steamed buns into the space. Then I directly drove to rent a warehouse of 1,000 square meters beside the large market. In addition to asking others to help stockpile supplies, I also had to stockpile a batch myself. Anyway, things can be stacked in the space. I won't know what I'm still lacking until I go to the large market. I visited several agricultural trade stores selling seeds and chose the one with the most complete variety to place an order. "I want all the seeds on your stall. Is it possible to get 100 bags of each kind? 100 bags of each kind. Are you sure?" "Sure." The boss looked at me suspiciously. He seemed to think that anything could happen in an agricultural trade store, so he didn't ask more. He directly shouted towards the backyard, "Doe, there's business. Come and move the goods." Then he happily came over and pulled me to sit down. "Young lady, sit down. You're lucky. We just stocked up a few days ago. We have a complete variety and quantity of seeds." After paying the money, I left the address of the warehouse for the boss and asked her to deliver the goods. Then I went to the nearby fruit and vegetable market and bought a lot of potatoes, tomatoes, bok choy, bananas, cucumbers, cantaloupes. I stocked up about 500 snakeskin bags of most of the fruits and vegetables. After finishing all this, 2 hours had passed. I took out the steamed buns from the space and was pleasantly surprised to find that the buns were still steaming hot. The time in the space is frozen. I immediately called several restaurants that I usually like and ordered 500 servings of each of my favorite dishes. I made an appointment for them to deliver to the warehouse at 10 p.m. and repeatedly confirmed with the merchants that the food should be hot. Then I went to order 500 servings of various grains, oils, and seasonings. I also ordered 100 servings each of pork, beef, mutton, chicken, fish, salt, and various seasonings. I also contacted the water plant and ordered 10 tons of water, which was almost 500 barrels of household barreled water. All the things I ordered were supposed to be delivered to the warehouse today. Someone will definitely find the abnormality of the warehouse, but I'll leave tomorrow anyway, who cares? I drove around and bought the maximum share that I could buy from every pharmacy in the city. I also bought some baseball bats, watermelon knives, kitchen knives, crossbows, stun guns, entrenching shovels and other weapons. On the way, I successively received calls from the intermediaries asking for the deposit. By the time I paid the deposit, bought the medicine and returned to the warehouse, it was already 11 p.m. I asked the person guarding the warehouse to leave in advance. I took out the key from the mailbox beside the warehouse and opened the door. Looking at the warehouse full of stacked supplies, I felt an indescribable sense of satisfaction. After collecting all the supplies, I closed the warehouse door and casually threw the warehouse key on the car. I was ready to drive the Hummer back to Licheng. For less than 30 minutes after leaving the city and getting on the highway, there were several gunshots coming from the front. There were also gunshots on the right side. I stepped on the brake urgently, but I still couldn't avoid crashing into the large truck parked across the road in front of me. A hoarse and ear-piercing scream broke the silent night. It's a zombie. Before I could react, a zombie that jumped up from somewhere directly hit the front glass of the Hummer with its head. Its grayish-white face was stuck on the glass and it roared at me ferociously, in fear. I took out a fruit knife from the space and stabbed it straight into the zombie's head. Then I quickly took out a backpack from the space, pushed open the car door and climbed out. More intensive gunshots rang out. I quickly ran backward. A harsh braking sound sounded in front of me. I quickly ran closer and opened the passenger door and got in. Retreat quickly. There are zombies ahead. Before I finished speaking, the car started again and drove quickly towards the national road beside us. I looked back through the rearview mirror. It was the army. The army was clearing the zombies. The zombies appeared so early. In my previous life, I heard that the virus mutated in a research laboratory deep in the mountains of Yusur near S City. The mother virus escaped. Once bitten, the virus would spread through body fluids and ordinary people would quickly turn into zombies. Ordinary zombies also have the ability to spread the virus, and the newly bitten ordinary zombies have similar visual, olfactory, auditory, and motor abilities to normal humans. But these abilities will deteriorate as the time of being bitten gets longer. That is to say, other zombies will self-destruct over time. The only thing that really needs to be killed is the mother virus. It is said that the mother virus has abilities beyond human limits and is elusive. As long as the mother virus is not completely eliminated, the zombies will never end. To kill a zombie, you just need to hit its heart or head. Looking at the zombies that were shot and fell behind, I tightly pressed my wildly beating heart with my hand and took a deep breath. Then I turned to look at the man in the driver's seat. The orange streetlights flickered on and off. The light hit the man's clean eyebrows and eyes. His fair face had deep features. The short hair that was difficult for ordinary people to carry suited him very well. He was wearing a white shirt and was unforgettable. Strange, this man was too calm in the face of zombies. I tried to talk to him. I'm Valerie. Thank you just now. The man was silent for a while. His dark pupils glanced at me indifferently and his clean and deep voice sounded, Trevor, you're welcome. Wait, why does this name sound so familiar? But I really can't remember where I heard it. Are you going to Licheng? My car was damaged just now. If you're going to Licheng, can you give me a ride? I can pay for the fare. Yeah. Before I could talk to him more, dense gunshots rang out again from behind. I looked back and 2 military trucks rushed towards our direction, listening to the roars of the zombies. This time it was obviously not the army chasing the zombies, but the army being chased by the zombies. Trevor stepped on the gas pedal to the bottom. The military truck's performance was obviously better. Soon, one military truck overtook our car. A soldier with a wheat-colored complexion on the military truck stretched out his hand from the car window and motioned for us to drive the car into the gas station not far ahead. As soon as the car entered the station, everyone desperately ran towards the service supermarket behind the gas station. At this time, there were no other people in the gas station except the 2 gas station employees. As soon as we entered the supermarket, a young soldier got out of the military truck and ran towards us. He spoke very quickly. We're going to lead the zombies to the gas station and blow it up. You guys leave from the back quickly. They were going to blow up the gas station. Did they plan to die together with the zombies? Give me a gun. I can use it. Trevor's expression was quite calm. The young soldier directly threw the gun in his hand to Trevor and quickly took out another one from his waist. In the face of zombies, What were prohibited items? It was already good to be able to survive. Trevor took the gun and pulled me to run towards the back of the supermarket. 2 gas station employees and 2 soldiers ran with us. At this time, another military truck crashed into the supermarket door. I turned around and saw a swarm of zombies following behind the military truck. Among them, there was a male zombie with his upper body bare. His whole body was blue. He jumped onto the military truck in one step. Several soldiers got out of the military truck and rushed into the supermarket. 2 of the soldiers only had time to get out of the military truck and were immediately knocked down and overwhelmed by the swarming zombies. Trevor shot at the head of the blue zombie and hit it right in the eye. A shrill scream sounded. Trevor quickly pulled me over the back wall of the supermarket and ran towards the small river not far behind. Dense gunshots rang out. Boom. There was a loud explosion. The shockwave of the explosion pushed us into the river. Boom, boom, boom. The gas station exploded for the second time. I felt someone holding me tightly in the river. The next moment, a burning pain came from my head and I lost consciousness. 5. In a daze, I saw the dilapidated Inuan villa area in Licheng. In my villa, there were only my uncle with a sallow face and my cousin. Where was my mother? I searched every room in the villa but couldn't find my mother. My uncle mumbled that my mother and my aunt went out to find food together one day and never came back. I stared into my uncle's eyes and questioned him. Since there's no food, how did you 2 survive? The next moment, there were white and blinding bones behind the villa in front of my eyes. I broke out in cold sweat all over my body and suddenly opened my eyes. I saw a completely strange bedroom. There was a slight pain in my hand. I turned my head and saw Trevor taking out the needle of the intravenous drip for me. You're awake. Do you want to drink some water? Trevor picked up the water beside him and handed it to me. Thank you. I took the water and drank 2 sips. I raised my hand and rubbed my sore head. Someone knocked on the door twice and came in with a bowl of porridge. The little sister is awake. It seems that the medicine your friend risked to find last night was very effective. It was a woman wearing a gas station employee's uniform. She looked about 30 years old and was very thin. She said her name was Willow and she came to bring me the porridge. After delivering the porridge, she left, risking finding medicine. I looked at Trevor in a daze. Thank you for saving me. What did she mean by risking and finding medicine? We had just met. I didn't expect Trevor to take risks for a stranger like me. It wasn't very dangerous. I'm a doctor. There was a clinic nearby. You should have hurt your head yesterday. You seemed to be in pain even when you were unconscious, so I went to get you some painkillers like Rotendine. The intravenous drip I hung for you just now is nutrient solution. In the 2 years of the apocalypse in my previous life, I had never seen such a kind person. I said softly, if there's anything I can do to help in the future, you can make a request. Trevor smiled after hearing this. He leaned back on the chair and relaxed. Don't you remember who I am at all? I was stunned. Do we know each other? I thought carefully. The memories of the 2 years of the apocalypse in my previous life were too deep. There was no such person in my other memories either. Trevor saw that I really couldn't remember and took the initiative to say, when we first met when we were children, you were crying and holding on to me. I didn't expect you to be joking. Seeing that I didn't believe him, Trevor said again, my grandfather also lives in the Inuan villa area. We were neighbors when we were children. When you were in the 3rd grade of primary school, I was in the 6th grade. I often took you to school together. I followed my parents to Pingching in the capital to study after graduating from primary school. I rarely came back later. Don't you remember me or didn't you recognize me? I recognized you at a glance. I thought about it seriously, but I couldn't remember anything. I only vaguely felt that the name Trevor was familiar. But I still tried to call out, Brother Trevor. Trevor briefly told me what happened after I passed out, after the explosion stopped. When we came out of the river, we had been washed away from the gas station. The 6 of us had some scratches more or less, but I was the only one who passed out because I was hit by a panel. The gas station and its surroundings had been flattened. The flames were blinding. But before we could feel sorry for the soldiers, we saw that the people who were awakened by the explosion and came out to check the situation all turned into zombies one by one. That explosion took away all the other zombies at the gas station, but the mother virus didn't die. After escaping from the explosion, it vented its anger on the nearby residents like a madman, according to the 2 soldiers who escaped with us. The research direction of the Usher Research Institute at that time was human body transformation. The mother virus might have extremely strong recovery ability. These 2 soldiers were communication soldiers in the army. One of them was the soldier with a wheat-colored complexion who gestured to us on the national road. His name was Aaron. The other soldier, who was slightly taller, was named Adrian. They were the only 2 who evacuated in advance among the soldiers. We never expected that the zombies couldn't be solved at all. We were still near the gas station at that time. the zombies spread too fast, and we didn't have time to go out. We could only knock on the doors of the nearby residents, but the changes made people vigilant, and almost no one was willing to open the door for us. If it wasn't for Grandpa Adam's kindness, all of us would have died outside. We were currently living in Grandpa Adam's house. It was a simple 2-bedroom and 1 living room house. The child's parents were working outside. Currently, only Grandpa Adam, who was 64 years old, and his 7-year-old grandson were at home. After listening to Trevor, I finished the porridge in my hand. I gently opened a corner of the curtain. It was already getting light. Sensitive zombies were wandering in all directions on the road. I couldn't speak for a long time. Just now, Willow said that Trevor risked his life to go out and find medicine for me. How could the 2 words risked his life describe it? Fortunately, this wasn't the city center, and there were no dense crowds of zombies that couldn't be seen the end of. I put down the curtain and looked at Trevor and said softly, "Brother Trevor, thank you for risking your life for me. When I went to find the medicine, it wasn't as dangerous as it is now. You don't have to keep thanking me." I suddenly remembered that the zombies broke out early. Would there be danger at home now? Brother Trevor, is my bag still there? I want to call my mom. Trevor handed me the backpack and said, "The signal is cut off, and you can't get through on the phone. I have to leave here and go home." Brother Trevor, what are your plans next? I'm going to Inuan in Leeching. I originally planned to go back to Leeching to celebrate Grandpa's birthday. Then let's get ready and leave. Trevor nodded and went out to inform the others. I quickly packed up, put on my backpack, and went out. Everyone was already ready. The 2 soldiers, Aaron and Adrian, were going to the military base in Leeching. The 2 gas station employees, Willow and Wesley, were going home. It was a 20-minute journey from here, and Trevor and I were also going to Leeching. We decided to go out to find a car together. After finding a car, the gas station employees would go home, and we would go to Leeching with the soldiers. Before going out, I secretly put down 4 bags of rice and 2 boxes of water in the kitchen. It was enough for Grandpa Adam and his grandson to live for a few months, and I told Grandpa Adam, "Grandpa Adam, there are zombies biting people all over the street. Not everyone is trustworthy. To protect your grandson, don't open the door to anyone easily." We were lucky to be saved, but if I didn't have the space, Grandpa Adam and his grandson would also be dragged down by our group because of the food. 6. We first went to a hardware store not far away to get weapons. Trevor, the 2 soldiers, and I all chose kitchen knives. Wesley and Willow didn't dare to take knives and chose steel pipes. To avoid all the zombies surrounding us, no one dared to use a gun. The 2 soldiers walked in front with knives. Trevor and Wesley walked on the left and right sides respectively. Willow and I walked in the middle, although the zombies were agile. Fortunately, we were near the national road, and there were not many people or zombies. As long as we overcame our fear of the zombies, it wasn't that difficult to kill them. The 6 of us quickly moved towards the place where there were cars. Suddenly, Trevor turned around without warning, holding a kitchen knife in his hand. He slashed fiercely at what was behind me. Along with the sound of the kitchen knife cutting into the flesh was a low growl from a non-human. Hoo-hoo. I quickly swung my kitchen knife towards what was behind me. The kitchen knife knocked the zombie's head aside. When Willow reacted and looked behind her, a pale face covered in blood was right next to her face. Willow let out a scream. I took back my kitchen knife and quickly covered her mouth, but it was too late. All the zombies rushed towards us. The 6 of us quickly ran towards the direction where there were fewer zombies. A long line of zombies followed behind us. The zombies surrounding us in the front fell one by one under the attack of the 2 soldiers and Trevor. I followed behind them and killed the zombies they didn't take care of. The zombies behind were about to catch up. Willow screamed again when she saw the zombies pouncing in front of her, and Wesley had hidden between the soldiers and Willow. I quickly pulled Willow to one side and took care of the rear. To kill the zombies with one blow, I slashed at the zombies' necks with each knife. The zombies' heads were their weak points, and so were their necks, although each blow was accurate. Unfortunately, after a long time, strength was my weak point, and the knife's edge was curled. I swung the curled kitchen knife in my hand expressionlessly. I wasn't willing to die here after being reborn. At this time, several gunshots came from behind. Immediately, more intensive gunshots rang out. The zombies were stimulated by the gunshots and moved faster. Suddenly, a hand pulled me to the left with force. It blocked the zombies. Looking at the zombies pouncing in front of me, I used all my strength to cut off the zombie's neck and continued to slash beside me along the force. Ah, a shrill scream sounded. Wesley's arm fell to the ground, and blood splashed all over my and his upper clothes. The zombies pounced more excitedly. I quickened my pace and stepped back, and Wesley had been knocked down and overwhelmed by the zombies, just because I saved Willow and there was no human shield between him and the zombies. He used me to block the zombies. What a useless man. Did he think women were weak and could be bullied? In my previous life, I was pushed into the zombie horde once. How could I not be on guard in this life? The army is here. Willow seemed to not see the dead Wesley and looked towards the direction of the army in surprise. Trevor glanced in my direction, seeing that I was okay. He didn't say anything. The group of us accelerated the speed of clearing the zombies, but among the zombies, I saw Wesley, who had been knocked down by the zombies. He was covered in blood, and his grayish-white eyes that had obviously turned into a zombie stared at me. I was shocked. Before I could react, I saw Wesley pounce towards me faster than the other zombies. Obviously, Willow was closer to Wesley. I quickly took out a new kitchen knife from the space and slashed at Wesley's neck. Then I continued to run backward. I turned my head and saw that Wesley had completely fallen. 7. A dozen military trucks could be seen ahead. The soldiers wearing green camouflage uniforms were standing on the roof of the trucks and shooting at the zombies in an orderly manner. Strangely, each shot didn't hit the zombies' heads, and no blood flowed out. The zombies lay quietly on the ground. The zombies in the middle of the road were also moved to the side of the road by the soldiers. This scene was very strange. The two soldiers should have been called to ask questions. Trevor, Willow, and I were taken onto a military green truck heading out of the city. Through the car window, it was obvious that this section of the national road had been blocked off. It was not easy to get off the truck. We were taken to a shed for a full-body examination and questioning. After being quarantined for 24 hours, we signed a national confidentiality agreement and were released. Until now, I finally understood why I thought the end of the world would come in a week, but I met the zombies so early. It turned out that the country had already made the greatest efforts, and from shooting to besieging, there were some secrets about these zombies. The journey on the road had been delayed for 2 days. The time left for me was not much, and today was also the time to check the supplies. After being released from quarantine, I told Trevor my concerns about the zombies and prepared to buy more supplies. We separated and went our own way. I rented a car again and drove directly to the warehouse I rented before. I didn't meet the intermediaries. It was all online transactions. After the last batch of supplies was put into storage, I handed over the balance and the warehouse password to the intermediaries online, and this deal was over. After everyone evacuated, I drove around the warehouse to observe it and then entered the warehouse to collect the supplies with the space. After collecting the supplies, I always felt that there was a burning gaze staring at me from behind. I looked back, but there was nothing. Was I exposed? I quickly left the warehouse and drove around the warehouse again to observe. Still, I found nothing. I couldn't be sure if there was someone or it was just an illusion. I didn't care so much. I would go home to see my mom first. It was already evening when I returned to the community. There was a large truck unloading goods in front of Trevor's house next door. When Trevor saw me passing by, he came over and exchanged contact information with me. The construction of my house for 3 days had also ended. I thought my mom had paid the balance to the construction team. I opened the door with the key and saw my mom cutting vegetables in the kitchen wearing an apron. The warm light shone on her, and she was still the same as in my memory. My mom turned around and walked towards me when she heard the sound. Ching ching, you're back. I thought you didn't come back yesterday, but you should be home today. We can have a meal soon. Listening to my mom's chattering voice, this rebirth finally felt real. When my mom came over, I hugged her and my eyes couldn't help but turn red. There was no time when I was more grateful than at this moment that I had a space full of supplies. The end of the world would still come, but I could take my mom and rewrite our destiny. After tidying up and having a meal, I pulled my mom to sit down. Mom, I want to tell you something. Although it's absurd, you must believe me. I told my mom everything that happened in my previous life without hiding anything. At first, my mom thought I had a big dream and hugged me to comfort me, until I showed my mom my space ability. The national road to leeching is already in chaos. In 4 days, the virus will break out completely. Mom, you have to believe me. My uncle and his family really killed us. I don't ask you to take revenge. I just need you to ignore them. Listening to my choking voice, my mom's throat tightened. Finally, she said with difficulty, Ching ching, Mom believes you. No matter what happens in the future, Mom will stand by your side. 8. In the afternoon of September 26, 2030, Vivian's family was finally driven out of the house. Vivian didn't have much money in her hand. Her parents wouldn't believe the so-called end of the world statement. All Vivian could do was try to stockpile food at home. But no matter how much food she stockpiled, she didn't have a house. These foods would only become their death warrants. Vivian's family appeared in front of my house with big and small bags of luggage and a pile of food that was obviously stockpiled by Vivian when she went home. They banged on the door. Just listening to the sound was enough to show how angry they were. I picked up a baseball bat and hit Vivian's father's hand that was knocking on the door. Vivian's father was startled and quickly stepped aside to avoid it. The baseball bat narrowly missed his hand, but before he could be lucky, out of the corner of his eye, he saw the baseball bat hitting towards his head. Vivian's father hurriedly hid behind his son. Theodore, murder. You're worse than an animal. You even want to kill your own uncle. The old ones are despicable, and the young ones are also despicable. On the 6th of last month, I saw you checking into a hotel with another woman at the Binley Hotel. A few days ago, I saw Vivian flirting with my boyfriend. The upper beam is crooked, and the lower beam is also crooked. Get away from here, or I'll let you know what it means to be worse than dead. When I mentioned the Binley Hotel, my uncle obviously became guilty. But his anger quickly replaced it. He raised his hand to grab my baseball bat. I turned around and took out a kitchen knife from behind. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw my aunt's expression change from doubt to shock, and then her eyes turned red. It seemed that she thought of something. I stepped back behind the door and closed the door with force. I learned this news from Vivian in my previous life when she pretended to be pitiful and revealed it to me. The whole family knew about it, except my aunt. But from my perspective, my aunt, who was the most active in occupying my family's property and thought that my family only had me and my mom left and that my cousin should inherit the family business in the future, wasn't worthy of pity. It didn't matter whether my aunt believed it or not. What was important was to plant the seeds of doubt and make their family fall apart from the inside. The sound of their argument came from outside the door. Soon they knocked on the door again. I have something very important to tell you. I have something that can save our lives. Vivian's anxious voice sounded outside the door. I directly hung a loudspeaker on the door. My uncle, Tobias, occupied the family property. Tobias cheated on his wife at X hotel on X month X day. My cousin, Vivian, seduced my boyfriend, and they still dared to come to the door to grab the ancestral house. As soon as I hung up the loudspeaker, my uncle slapped Vivian. Why did you seduce her boyfriend? If it wasn't for you, would she have sold the house? Before Vivian could defend herself, Trevor came with the property management to drive them away and directly said that he had called the police, forced by the property management's eviction and the ridicule of the onlookers in the villa area. Vivian's family dragged their big and small bags and a lot of food and went to a hotel outside the villa area in full view. I then brought a basin of chicken cooked by my mom from home and sent it to Trevor's house to express my gratitude. That night, Vivian sent me a friend verification message. I've called Owen over. We can explain to you. Can we meet? That's exactly what I want. I directly approved her friend request and replied, what's between me and Owen? When did you have the right to call him? Act crazy. The more unreasonable I am, the more normal it is. It's really a misunderstanding. You can hit me or scold me, but I just want to clear up the misunderstanding. Really, tie Owen up and let me vent my anger. Okay, as long as you're willing to lend me the ring. After 12 o'clock at night, I went to the hotel. Owen had come from school in the afternoon and was staying in the room next to Vivian's family, knowing that the end of the world was coming. Vivian was quite generous and directly booked a penthouse suite in the hotel. As soon as I knocked on the door, Owen opened it. When he saw me, he immediately came to hug me. I dodged into the room. Vivian was sitting at the table and warmly greeted me. Sister, you're finally here. Are you thirsty? Have a glass of water first. I looked at Vivian coldly. Didn't you say you would tie him up for me to vent my anger? What? Can't you do it? They exchanged a glance. Owen closed the door and came to hug me again. I took out an electric stun baton from the space with my hands behind my back and stunned Owen directly. Vivian stared at me in surprise. The space. Before she could say anything more, I kicked her to the ground. I used all my strength for this kick. Vivian almost fainted from the kick. After calming down for a while, Vivian stared blankly at the ceiling and muttered, Why, I've been reborn, and now you're here to stop me. You've been reborn, and is this all you can do? Vivian's face turned pale with anger. What do you know? I'm not like you. I have no money, so I can only borrow from Owen. After you sent the chat records to the school network, Owen didn't want to lend me money anymore. I told him the end of the world was coming and asked him to stockpile food, but he didn't believe me at all. He came here because he couldn't stand the rumors and wanted to sleep with you and threaten you to clarify the things on the school network. Really? Then we'll settle both the old and new grudges this time. I took out the medicine made from Diefenbachia and pinched Vivian's neck to make her swallow it. After making her lose her voice with the poison, I severed her hand tendons. Vivian curled up in pain and couldn't make a sound with her hoarse throat. She soon fainted from the pain. The grudges from the previous life end here. As for the grudges in this life, I picked up the water that Vivian prepared for me on the table and made her drink it. I kicked Owen, who was lying on the ground, made a 10 cm long wound on each of his calves, tied him up and hung him on the second floor. The blood from the wounds dripped to the ground along his calves. When he woke up, there would be a surprise waiting for him. I took out the surveillance cameras and installed them in the room and the corridor. Then I climbed from the outer wall of the hotel to my uncle's room next door, installed a surveillance camera above the window, and sent out a drone to monitor at all times. After doing all this, I went home, 9, at 2 a.m. on September 27, 2030. In the surveillance footage, Vivian woke up. Her face was flushed. She struggled to get up from the ground, opened the door with her body, and kicked the door of the next room. Seeing her disheveled look, Vivian's parents immediately called 110 and 120, but no one answered. Finally, they called 2 hotel staff and a security guard to go to the hospital together. However, the smell of blood on Owen had already attracted some zombies. Under the cover of the night, the zombies had come downstairs of the hotel. Yes, the national end of the world came again. 3 hours ago, the zombies had spread rapidly around with the national road as the center. Vivian was helped into the car. In a daze, she saw 5 or 6 people on the ground gnawing on something. 2 of them noticed them and were about to stand up. Vivian woke up instantly and struggled to get out of the car and rushed into the hotel. Vivian's father and Vivian's mother were wondering what was going on when a sharp scream suddenly burst out in their ears. The 2 hotel staff were being gnawed on by the zombies, and other zombies were running towards Vivian's father and Vivian's mother. Vivian's father pushed Vivian's mother towards the zombies and fled back to the hotel with the security guard. 6 people went down, and only 3 came back, and it was highly likely that the hotel lobby couldn't be defended. Back on the top floor of the hotel, Vivian's father and the security guard collapsed on the ground. Vivian couldn't hold on any longer because the medicine was taking effect, but no one cared whether she was alive or dead at this moment. With her last bit of strength, Vivian forced herself on the hotel security uncle, maybe because he was scared by the zombies. 2 minutes later, the security uncle turned over and vented on Vivian's body repeatedly. At 5 a.m. on September 27th, a scream pierced the sky. When Owen opened his eyes, he saw that he was hanging in the air. When he looked down, he found that more than 20 zombies were densely gathered at his feet, stretching their hands towards him and making jia sounds. One of the zombies even climbed onto the pile of zombies, and its outstretched hand touched Owen's shoes. This terrifying scene made Owen pee his pants in fear, and he could only shout for help desperately. The hotel guests opened the windows one after another, watching people turn into unconscious zombies. Most of them were so scared that they couldn't move. After a while, someone finally remembered to save Owen. In the end, the security uncle who lived in Owen's room pulled him up. With the arrival of the day, more people who didn't know what was going on, kind-hearted people, and people who went out. There were more and more zombies on the road, the villa area, because Trevor had controlled all the entrances and exits in advance, temporarily became the safest place at the moment. 5 days after the zombies spread, the food in the hotel was almost gone. At this moment, most people remembered Vivian's family who had checked into the hotel with a large amount of food. The hotel sent someone to ask Vivian's father to share the food. Without saying a word, Vivian's father closed the door and, together with his son, piled all the sofas behind the door to prevent them from directly swiping the card to enter the room. However, in less than an hour, all the food was robbed. The supplies that Vivian stockpiled had never belonged to her from the beginning. 10 days after the zombies spread, people with little stockpiled food began to take the risk of going out to find food. Vivian exchanged her body for food, and Owen had to go out with his injured leg. Owen ran behind the others. Whenever he couldn't run anymore, a drone would fly above his head and play the song Good Luck. After everyone found that the drone chased above Owen's head twice in a row, no one wanted to team up with Owen anymore. 15 days after the zombies spread, Vivian couldn't exchange her body for food anymore, and Owen didn't dare to go out to find food alone. The 2 of them had been hungry for several days, and Vivian's father and Theodore were in no better condition. If this went on, they were likely to be starved to death. After discussing it, these people found several of the most powerful guys in the hotel. Why should we be scared and have no food, while those people in the villa area are living well? They have stockpiled some food in each house. I know one of them. There is a lot of food in their house. I can lead the way. Looking at Vivian's father, who was spitting in Vivian and Theodore with angry faces in the surveillance footage, I just found it funny. After I told Trevor about their plan, Trevor immediately organized a group of residents in the villa area to guard the gate. At noon that day, a group of people in the hotel got together and prepared to break through the gate of the villa area. Unfortunately, no one was willing to be the decoy to lure the zombies away. They could only throw the phone that played the music a little farther away to briefly lure the zombies away. When this group of people rushed towards the gate of the villa area, Trevor just took out his gun. Unexpectedly, the gate of the villa area opened automatically. Trevor rushed to the security room, pushed away the person who controlled the gate switch button, and closed the gate again. We're all compatriots. We should save one if we can. Trevor sneered and quickly left the security room, asking all the residents at the gate to go home immediately. Before they walked far, some people in the hotel rushed into the villa area while the gate was open. Vivian and Owen were slower than the others because of their injuries. The zombies were only 2 steps away from them, and the gate was about to close. Just when they were desperate, the gate opened slowly again. But the zombie's hands had touched Owen's back. Owen broke out in a cold sweat instantly. While speeding up, he pushed Vivian towards the zombie horde behind him. Vivian's body was grabbed by countless hands and bitten by blood-red teeth. Vivian stared at Owen with red eyes until she was submerged by the zombie horde. However, soon, Vivian rushed out of the zombie horde and rushed into the villa area before the gate was closed again. The people who had just rushed into the villa area and thought they were safe and sat on the ground to rest one by one turned into zombies. The person who opened the gate in the security room was no exception. When he was being bitten by the zombies and was desperate, he opened the gate of the villa area again out of resentment. The false kind-hearted people showed their true demonic nature when their interests were touched. 10. Hi. Vivian, who was about to pounce on Owen, immediately gave up on Owen and chased after me when she heard my voice. I quickly went back inside the wall and closed the gate. Vivian banged her head against the gate. I opened the video intercom doorbell and said, "Vivian, you still have your consciousness, right? On the national road before. I guess that turning into a zombie didn't mean real death. Everyone was just controlled by the virus. As long as there is a vaccine, all the zombies can turn back into normal people. I just tested it with you. I didn't expect you to hate me so much that you gave up Owen, who was about to be yours, and came after me, verifying my guess. You should be happy to get this news. But think about why the zombies' abilities degenerated over time until they completely fell in the previous life. Zombified people are still human after all. Without eating or drinking, their physical functions degenerate, and they will also die. I'm waiting to witness that day for you." The violent and rapid sound of banging on the door sounded again. In extreme anger, the zombies seemed to gain temporary control of their bodies from the virus. Wesley was like that, and so was Vivian. This is why the zombies weren't shot on the national road. I went back to the second floor, took out the bow and arrow, aimed at Owen who was knocking on the door for help everywhere, and shot an arrow through his leg. Owen screamed and fell down. His scream attracted Vivian. Owen crawled backward with his injured leg. The flowing blood stimulated Vivian to move faster and faster until she pounced on Owen and bit his throat precisely. 1 month after the zombies spread, the residents in the community who had stockpiled food basically ran out of supplies. Trevor threw a paper ball wrapped with hard candy to me from the balcony on the second floor. It said, "The food is gone, and human nature is exterminating. Do you want to team up? Teamwork is better than fighting alone. Can my grandpa and I move here with our own food? Your house has better protection measures than mine." I looked directly at Trevor. "I promised you that you could make a request. I have no problem with it, but I need to discuss it with my mom." "Okay." Waiting for your reply, I discussed it with my mom. We were old neighbors, and my mom was willing to let them move in, but she was worried that my space would be exposed. "We'll move to the third floor and let Trevor and his grandpa live on the second floor. We'll clearly define the living areas and not interfere with each other. Just in case, I'll put 1/3 of the supplies in the bedroom and the kitchen." My mom thought it was feasible. After using the drone to attract away the zombies wandering in front of the villa, Trevor sent his grandpa over and settled him down. Then he moved a lot of daily necessities and food here one after another. I knew Trevor had stockpiled a lot of food, but they must be short of vegetables and fruits, so my mom and I dried some vegetables and made them into cooked food, and occasionally sent them to Trevor and his grandpa. 2 days after Trevor moved in, his worry came true. As the food became less and less, many people were fooled by Vivian's father and Theodore and believed that our family had a large amount of food. At night, someone climbed over the wall and was shocked by the electricity and made a trembling sound. Someone pried the lock, but it triggered the electronic alarm and attracted a large number of zombies. We didn't have to do anything, and several people died from exhaustion. Therefore, they were more convinced that we had a large amount of food in our hands. More and more people joined them, reaching up to more than 50 people. If it didn't work once, they would try a second or third time. They even found a large iron door from somewhere and blocked the road, blocking all the ordinary zombies, just to deal with us. Bang, bang, bang. When the gate was almost broken open, Trevor used a pistol. The deafening gunshots made more and more zombies gather around, just as Vivian's father and Theodore were going to retreat temporarily with this group of people. A zombie with its upper body bare and all blue jumped down and plunged into the crowd to bite. We could even hear the sound of flesh being bitten, and the howls of pain were endless. The mother virus. Trevor's face turned a little pale, but his tone was firm. "We must kill it." I quickly shot at the mother virus with a crossbow. Trevor also fired quickly. With a loud bang, the window glass on the second floor shattered. The mother virus jumped and pounced on Trevor like lightning, without time to think. I threw the Hummer in the space and directly smashed it towards the mother virus. With a bang, the mother virus and the car fell into the yard together. The mother virus rolled on the ground twice and then bounced up again. This time, it pounced on me. I threw out a motorcycle from the space again, but the mother virus quickly. I was knocked to the ground. Before I fainted, I vaguely saw the bloody teeth of the mother virus. 3 months after the zombies spread, when I woke up again, 2 months had passed. Trevor said that he had dealt with the mother virus. As for me, I was very lucky. The mother virus didn't bite through my skin. My fainting should be related to a concussion. My mom and grandpa were still alive, and the supplies I had left and the supplies he had stored were still enough, but the others in the community were in a much worse situation. Their supplies were all used up, and they started killing each other. They had even resorted to cannibalism. Vivian's father and Theodore had been. I lowered my eyes and didn't say anything. Everyone had paid the due price for the evil they had done. He didn't ask about the space, and I didn't explain further. The glass on the second floor had been broken, and I asked Trevor and Grandpa to move to the third floor and live with us. It seemed that there were only the four of us normal humans left in this place, and it seemed meaningless to be more on guard. A space like a Chinquin bag. Occasionally, Trevor and I would go out to collect some supplies. And we also wanted to see if a safe base would be established. 1 year after the zombies spread, the safe base in Leeching was established. I donated the seeds I had collected before the end of the world and got the opportunity to move in. I was also allocated a nice 2-story small building. Our two families supported each other this year, and we got along very well, so we planned to live together in the future. Trevor became a doctor in the base, and I became the captain of the guard team with my martial arts skills. 3 years after the zombies spread, since the virus vaccine hadn't been developed yet, and the number of zombies was still increasing while some were dying, the leadership finally decided to clear all the zombies. No one knew that their relatives and friends were still alive after being bitten, and no one knew that their relatives and friends would die with their consciousness clear. The end of the world was finally coming to an end. The boss survived, and the level failed. The mechanical electronic voice sounded. I slowly opened my eyes. The orange streetlights flickered on and off. I turned my head and saw a man in a white shirt in the driver's seat. His temperament was unforgettable. I quickly took out a fruit knife from the space and pounced on the driver's seat, stabbing it fiercely into his heart. Bang! In the sudden constriction of his pupils, the car crashed into the roadside guardrail. I didn't dare to let go of the knife, for fear of being counterkilled accidentally. Why don't you play with me some more? It's only been 7 times. Trevor, you lunatic. Trevor smiled. Your performance every time is a surprise. You're really like a treasure that can't be dug out completely. A fire burned in my eyes. Is it fun to watch others struggle to survive? You, the maker of the virus. Before he could answer, I pulled out the fruit knife and stabbed it into his heart again. Trevor let out a muffled groan and finally stopped breathing completely. Trevor was never a doctor. He was a virology researcher, the maker of the mother virus who held the virus vaccine, and I had entered a virus kingdom game. The first life was set by the plot, and every life after that was my revenge after my self-awareness awakened, after Trevor discovered that I was a time traveler with a space. He had been observing and teasing me from the side. As long as he didn't die, I would be trapped in the cycle forever. The boss is dead, and the level is successfully cleared. The mechanical electronic voice sounded again. When I opened my eyes again, I was in the familiar bedroom of the apartment.